I realize this. I'm from where them hammers rung. In Atlanta slums, pop a nigga, sit and wait for the ambulance to come. I know if you a shooter, by the way you're handling the gun. Gambling you're done, shells burn like candles in the sun. I'm not a fan of gun violence, nor having a strap to get popped once. That's what it's worth scrambling for one. But our plans was to get funds and skate off the set, so I mixed the kush with the dro to make all my weight stretch. I'm from with a dudes rob and argue all day about who's the best MC. Saha stacks of TI while dodging the GBI. My bad, I love GZI, but I'm still the best to ever do it, and I ain't even put a CD out. So the next time you say that I ain't got no lyricists, I just think you ain't got a taste for this exquisite shit. My verses are like Leviticus to the underprivileged. I make music for the world, you make music for a stripper bitch. Nick black leather, beret cap era, guns at your capital, take it to that measure. It's Huey, nigga. It's Huey, nigga.
All right, hey man, peace. Everybody that's in the chat, everybody that's tuned in live. I'm having a conversation with my brother Emmanuel from Facebook. I'm basically gonna allow him to introduce himself here in just a second. And y'all already know who I am, so like the show, share the show, tell a friend, tell a friend. I wanted to record this conversation because I don't want to have to keep having conversations with everybody about science and what science is. So I want to make a clear distinction of what it is that I'm saying so that there's no misinterpretation or assumption in what's going on, because there's a clear idea that some people don't understand what people are saying on Facebook, because it's not an opportunity to verbally hear someone express their position. It's short. You only got so many characters, and if you write too long, ain't nobody reading all that. So like I said, I'm gonna bring on the brother. He want to introduce himself. He takes a position that he has, and we're gonna kind of deal with everything from the crevice. So I want you, Emmanuel, to introduce yourself to the people, man. Hold on, you're on mute, bro. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Hey, what's good, everybody? My name is Emmanuel Goodman. I got a couple things going on. Got the FIFA match and these bad dogs over here acting up, so bear with me. But basically, I just
before you say what you say, I want to share our conversation. I just want to introduce yourself.
Okay, bro. I know how these go. I've been on. This is like a kind of like a Sarnita situation, so I know how y'all run it.
No,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Okay, look. What I want to do is I just want to introduce yourself.
I understand. I'm done. Go ahead.
All right.
I know it's.
Okay.
Hey, cut it out.
All right, so me and the brother was having first let me go to the post because I'm specific. I don't want to generalize anything. Most of these comments you see right here is me and him. So I put up a post on December 8th that said, Rizza Islam said our bodies are now spike mutated virus factories. And I'm laughing. All right. I'm going to skip all the other stuff because this is irrelevant. What is relevant is this comment right here that has 45 replies. All right, so here we go. He says Emmanuel says, to me, I think this debate is about who trusts the governments of the world. So there was no debate going on, but to our brother, he says, to me, he thinks that the debate is about who trusts the government of the world. So I replied, you ain't supposed to trust anyone. You're supposed to trust the data, science, not pseudoscience, or use fallacies to prey on individuals, which is playing with their lives. Now, I'm referring to my post, okay? I'm referring to what was said in my post. And I understand what he is saying. But I am telling him, you ain't supposed to trust nobody. You're supposed to trust the data. Because, and I'm going to explain further what I mean by that, because apparently I'm not clear. The brother then says, trust means we trust the reports that are submitted. This reality has us conditioned to believe what is written is so. You nor I have the equipment to run our own trials, so we are at the mercy of their data. The reality of the matter is, trust is all there is. We can cut and paste what we call a reliable source all we want, yet and still, it's because you trust the source of information. Some just do not trust government. I ain't gonna elaborate on that, but we can come back. So I said, that's a problem you have. I don't trust reports. I trust the scientific process and its ability to replicate a study or refute a study based on evidence, not opinions or beliefs. The brother responds, you weren't there to inspect the process, so it's trust. You believe everything they tell you. You trust them. We cannot duplicate their methods. I'm not going to respond to that. I'm going to continue. If you can't analyze data, that's a handicap if you can't understand the methodology and how results are replicated to draw an honest conclusion. Man, they gave classes on this stuff all pandemic for free. Now, I'm still talking about Rizza Islam's comment. I'm dealing primarily with my post, and I'm dealing primarily with methodology and the scientific process. I've already made it clear that I don't trust man and I don't trust the government. The government is man. And then I say, you do not have to be present, but you have to know methodology and how to vet and critique sources. Then he says, your analysis is of their data. You did not chart it. You must trust it's true. I says, you can't say I believe. No, I can demonstrate why the evidence is substantial. You might not. So he says, you are conducting the trials. All right. It gets fun, okay? Even though a lot of people have watched me on live shows deal with methodology for years, it's still a course. Then he says, you have to be present to validate, to record, sir. That is how all accreditation works. A witness is present. Then I says, Emmanuel, you still do not understand the scientific process, huh? And then I said, you know how conclusions are arrived and how studies are replicated? Now I'm asking a question here because I'm being specific at this juncture. How do scientists arrive at their conclusions? How are the studies replicated? This is the essential keys to figuring out if you can falsify evidence. All right. So now that was 9 hours ago. Come back today, this morning. The brother says, Sean, are you running the clinical trials or not? This is very cut and dry. The issue is that he meant trust. Well, I don't know. The issue is that you must trust that the findings are honest and accurate. Are you really going to hide behind those cliche responses, i.e., you don't understand the process, instead of conceding the simple fact? No matter the occurrence in the testing cycle, you're only receiving trusted data from a source. He says, hey, be specific, a source you considered concise and accurate. I ignored the second part of this for a reason when I say this. Bad source to now I deal with his source that he shows a source, right? And remember, he just made the comment that he made, then he shows this source, the historical roots of mistrust in science. Okay. Written by this lady. She's talking about people's opinions, feelings, and emotions. All right. Now, I said bad source to attempt to use. If you follow me, you should know better than this. He laughs. Then I say, you're changing your argument to integrity. It's a thing called scientific integrity, but that's how methodology and understanding data exposes one's ill intent. You can't use Tuskegee. The mistrust was on people who refused to give folk the cure. Ignorance is the new denial of a cure. No more back and forth unless you're prepared to deal with this topic on air, because I'm asking. We typing too much. Then he continues. The American Bar Association. So you don't trust them, huh? What mountain did you get your trusted source validation, approval, accreditation? You guys are all the same. You get to dimes of premise based upon trust, but we cannot. Such malarkey. Y'all all right, okay. Then he continues. I started with the word trust, very clear and concise. I stay on target with my argument. Scroll up, sir. A legal body used the experiment as an example in the article, not I. You're arguing with them. These are signs and reasons not trust, articulated by the American Bar Association. Now, the foremost authority on legality is not a trusted source, as stated by you, sir. I says, you ready to go live? I can educate you easily. He continues. As you saw, there's 25 more freaking messages. Regarding trust, sir, I would enjoy that. I told you before, I don't trust the government or scientists. I trust the science. He laughs. How do you differentiate the two bodies? You think they operate independently. At this point, I'm like, bro, you're not understanding me because we're still typing. Then he says, data drives out. I'm clear right here. Data drives out distrust. Methodology drives out distrust. Understanding of both provides trust in the tools and methods used to come to a conclusion. I don't know why this continues for days, but that's why I said we can go live. Clearly, you're not comprehending. So I'm trying. This is why we're live right now. So, but let's continue. There's more because there's more messages. Do you think it's far-fetched to think that they would control the narratives of science as they do in all genres? Bro, are you free or you love typing? We wasted time. I made it clear 5 times more than usual. He says, I think I said I would enjoy it. Now, I said, science eliminates narrative. It exposes flaws. How do you think studies get overturned, exposed for biases, and retracted? Science. He says, you're evading my question. Do you think that those that control and lied about all the genres would lie about science? Yes or no? No, I answered. Then I said, I'm setting up the show. While I'm setting up the show, he leaves these messages right here. All of these is him. He says, the contention that science is the one entity that cannot be controlled or perverted is very, very naive, to be kind. You don't trust government, but you trust science. You have to trust the narratives aren't controlled by those in power. Then he says, why no? Why do you have such faith they would not do what they have a pattern of doing? Very illogical to evade such a simple premise. Then he says, the years of study and scholarship on various topics dictates the exploration via simplification of nature of things. This argument revolved around trust. As you stated, we can pontificate all day. Bottom line is, you trust whether others do not. You can cut and paste your data all you want. I haven't cut and pasted anything, but he says I can. It really their data that you trust. Until we, as in you and I, duplicate these trials, You are nothing more than a puppet who hopes he is right. So now I'm a puppet that hope that I'm right. So then he continues, simple research, all scientific data has overview seers. That what he's referring to is, okay, he says overview seers by, yeah, they would never do anything nefarious. So are you discrediting the peer review process, or are you discrediting scientists who are, well, never mind, I'm gonna get to that. Now and then he says, no, that I have a clear identity, the link of government and science. Do you still stick to your premise? And then he posts another link. Then he gives me a cut and paste. Can't get around the federal government control. The National Science and Technology Council was established by executive order in 1993. The cabinet level is the principal means the executive branch to coordinate science and technology policy across the diverse entities that make up the federal research and development enterprise. I will open this up, ladies and gentlemen, and give you more. I said, bro, you still rambling. And then he says, laughing my a little more salt in the wound. He don't even understand that at this point, I'm setting the show up. I've just posted the link, but we still have some more messages. I just know you ain't hit with YouTube videos, scholarship blasphemy. First of all, if I go to YouTube, every one of my YouTube videos, this is why I said this is not Sonetta when you came on, bro. You said that when you first hopped on, you started talking about Sonetta. This ain't a Sonetta show. Bro, I deal with methodology, research methodology. I deal with data, evidence. I don't get on a show and just start talking. I have sources, right? I have information that can educate people, that can replicate what is being said. That's why I said you're still unclear of my position. You're just rambling. I don't trust you or nobody. You said, I just know you ain't hit me with the YouTube. So now all of a sudden, no comprehension to the fact that science is controlled by the government body that you stated you do not trust. Then you go on to say, only a laptop I got is ironically from the government. I can't use it for that. Ironically, you can't use it for that. All right, so we're on the cell phone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the bulk of our conversation. So again, Rizza Islam said our bodies are now spike mutated virus factories. I'm laughing. The brother says, he comes on and comments and says, to me, I think this debate is about who trusts the government of the world. I don't trust the government of the world. I trust the science. So let's be clear. Let's make this clear for everybody, right? Brother Emmanuel, if you can hear me, I know you're watching soccer now. I don't want to take you away from your soccer game. Try to do this real quick, like. Do you understand what science is? You're on mute, bro.
First of all, are you done with your presentation?
Yeah, everybody is up to speed.
Okay. I think you very well went through the timeline of the post. I really have. If anybody listened and read those comments, they're very, very straight to the point. See, my contention is that, while I've been going through my journey of trying to learn and figure out, certain things, you guys become absolutists, right? And about nothing. Wait. You muted me. Don't. That's why I say is this Sarnita. I've had several debates with them, evolution, this, that, the other.
We're not debating, we're having a conversation.
Exactly. So it's my turn to exchange.
But you just try to lump me among a group of people. I don't see it.
Like you said, I got time, I got dogs, I got all this going on. If you want to do one of these diatribes where you just banter and do not allow a rhetorical, that's fine. I got other things to do too. I just want to speak my piece and then we can go. Is that cool? I guess that's cool. All I did for you is equate control. You can refute it to your audience or your public however you want. There is a general pattern given by those in control. And there's a general pattern of misbehavior by the government towards our people and towards all people across the world.
Can I ask you a question?
There you go again.
No, because of what you just said. I'm trying to work with you on your point. You're making
to work with me. I think everybody on this call understands what misbehavior is.
No, how do you know that misbehavior is
on what I'm saying? I think they can clearly understand what I'm articulating. You still talk. I can go. Look, man. I know how these things go. I know y'all platforms. You know what I'm saying? You got the music, you got the production. I get it, but y'all gotta let other people talk.
I'm clearly just asking you a question.
You can ask me a question after I'm done with my statement. You had a 5-minute introductory. You opened it up with one of those open-ended innuendos, because y'all quick psychological synopsis is if you don't agree with me, you don't understand the topic, right? That's y'all.
Out of respect for me, stop saying y'all. My name is Sean, bro. You know my name. My name is
people
Sean.
Understand
my name
that
is Sean.
you do not. If I was gonna say I was gonna give you $100, you would have me count that in front of you, or you would have me deposit it in your account. I do not play these symmetrical parabolic games where we try to extrapolate the fact that you're analyzing data that you are getting off the phone like me. Now, whether you find A source credible or B source credible, the fact is, brother, that you do not have on a lab coat. You are not organizing nor designing these experiments to the best of your educated ability. You are deciphering these notes as true and accurate and fair. That is nothing nobody else can argue. Nobody can argue that. And that's my simple thing. And I said, and what makes it worse is that the behavior of these people, right? All across the world, me and you can get on another topic, whether it's religion, right? Race, economics, right? We can go in history and find out where the governments of the world, the federal governments of the world. See, that's where I would turn to you. And do you understand federal affiliation? Do you understand what the word federal means? Because if you did, there's really no argument that there is a control over these faculties. The ascension of science as being an impermeable mechanism is ridiculous. All faculties that are human are under human control. I'm gonna leave it at that. I have no other thing to say except that you cannot sit here and tell your audience that your information is not filtered. You can't tell them that.
How can you first of all, let me ask you something. How do you know that it's filtered?
I don't. Just like you can't prove it isn't.
Hold on. No, come on.
All I have is history. Hold on, let me finish what I'm saying. All I have is all this reading and shit we do, excuse my language, has us going away from common sense, right? Common sense says you do not know. Common sense says you have to trust the data. That's common sense because you're not there. The first thing somebody's going to ask you is, how do you know? Do you have a witness? In a court, you need these checks and balances.
All right. Hold on.
Oh, you had me muted, huh?
No, okay. We heard you. You said those checks and balances.
In a court of law, you have checks and balances, right?
Okay, stop, brother. You're running. We're trying to. Let me mute. Bro, we're trying to have a conversation. We're not trying to talk over each other. So when you're saying something, I'm asking you a question, and then you go run on, and then there's an echo. So I'm muting you so the audience can hear. There's an echo. That's the only reason that I muted, so the audience can hear me. They're complaining. So what I'm saying to you is this. I asked you if you had evidence for something, and your response was no. And then you went on to say that you have history. What history do you have that says that science didn't help support how you got to history? Do you understand what science is? Let me re-ask my question. Do you understand what science is?
That's that common thing. That's that common thing that folks that disagree with you all of a sudden have no premise of what science is, right? So my thing is, do you know what trust is?
Can you define to us what science is, please? Can you define to us what science is? We asked you, what is science?
Everybody has done those hypotheses. Everybody has looked at the general statement. Everybody has ran their trials. Everybody has worked with hydrogen. Everybody has done these things. Like I said, you do not want to tackle the premise of my post, which is
yes, I do. I'm going to go. I'm going to go point for point.
But I need that I have no reason to not trust a governmental body who has lied about everything else in society, whether it's food, whether it's our history, whether it's our origin, right? Whether it's any of these type of different topics. We are right now, this whole platform you have created started way back when in search of yourself. And while we've all been searching for ourselves, we found lies, contradictions, all these different things about trust. I did not even go into, see, you're so busy trying to prove that the findings that you have got from these individuals are valid that you aren't even hearing my argument. My argument, I'm tired of what you want to do. You want to talk about messenger DNA. You want to talk about the fact that they put A's inside of the vaccine. I'm not doing all that right now. I'm talking about the fact
they put A's in the vaccine?
And protein.
They put A's in the vaccine.
For the protein.
For mRNA vaccines, they put A's in it.
Hey.
You hold on. I can't hear when we go talk. I'm trying to communicate with you, bro, because I'm not trying to argue with you. You think that I'm trying to argue, and
No, I'm not. I'm just using
hold on. They can't hear you. They can't hear you. Bro, I talk and you talk, it's an echo. So I have to mute you so that they can hear.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be disingenuous.
Okay.
All right. So the reason that I asked if you understood what science is because you said you said a lot, and I'm trying to ask you, how did you arrive at the fact that you come to the conclusion that these people lied according to history? Something had to reveal itself to you in order for you to find out that you were lied about something. So there was some type of methodology which required scrutiny of evidence that would help you arrive to a conclusion. That's a process. So when you say things like they're putting AIDS in the mRNA vaccines, you got to have evidence for that. When you say that that everything requires a level of trust, you got to have evidence for that. Why are we trusting this information? And then we can't say that they're controlling the narrative. The reason that I asked you what science is because science requires two things. It requires you to know, which means to obtain knowledge, and to do, which means to demonstrate and explain what it is that you're doing. So I understand that you have a trust issue. It's not a problem for me, brother. I don't trust the government. I don't trust scientists. What I trust is data, what can be replicated and demonstrated. So what I'm trying to tell you is simple. On the post, I click, and I'm gonna deal with your points on the post. What I'm clearly telling you is this. I don't trust one source. That is not how you arrive at an honest conclusion. You have to, there's a methodology for understanding what is transpiring. All of the scientific data that is available to us goes through scrutiny. It goes through a peer review process. It goes through all these other things. How can we find error? Hold on. We listen to you. I let you go. I'm just trying to get this out. Because I'm trying to let you go. The thing is that there's replicable study. Not a study. There's replicable studies. What I mean by replicable studies. Bro, just chill, relax. You're gonna get to respond to that. Replicable studies. Those replicable studies allow us to see independent people do the research and replicate the study. If you understand how science works, this allows us the capability to weed out bias. This is why when people were publishing about ivermectin during the pandemic, talking about it worked on human beings, they had a group of people that was pushing it, and then they had a group of people who said otherwise. And then when science answered the question, it ruled it out through studies in controlled substances, double-blind, controlled. This is how you see if things work, bro. You remove bias. When you talking government, the government is not involved in that. They're biased. We don't need to trust them. We trust the science. They tell you that scientists tell you don't trust them. They tell you to trust the scientific process because it is in the replication of the study you find the answers. You clearly don't know how methodology works, and I'm trying to see where the cookie is crumbling because you done made a claim on the show, bro, that they putting AIDS in mRNA vaccines, and you have no damn evidence of that. Now, one person that has had a mRNA vaccine through this pandemic has caught AIDS from a damn vaccine.
Google it right now. Google it right now. Google it right now, because I'm surprised somebody who is supposed to be as astute as you do not know that they were practicing using the vaccine protein. Bro, that's how you do spike protein. They're using the AIDS vaccine as a carrier messenger for the spike protein.
Listen, mRNA vaccines have nothing to do with AIDS, bro. They don't do shit with AIDS, bro.
Look it up, Pimpin. Look it up. Look it up.
mRNA is lipid nanoparticles.
Protein used in vaccine.
Oh my God! Simple words.
AIDS protein. Do you know what that is? Do you know what the spike proteins are? Do you know what they're used for?
I wrote a book.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Use the spike protein. They used it as an experiment. It's in there. A couple of people from Australia died, and when I challenged doctors on it, they said, "Why are you worried about it? That's in Australia. That's not happening in the States. That was just Australia."
This is your argument?
That's just a fact. I don't even have that argument. It's a known fact. It's a known fact.
Bro, okay, so can I educate you?
Educate me on what? Did they use the AIDS spike protein? It's a comment. You extract a piece. I did not say the AIDS virus. I said the AIDS protein. I said it clearly.
It's not right. Can you read?
No, you're that's that selective stuff. I can pull the article up. It's old.
It's old, bro. mRNA technology never mind. All right. So let me just help people out. Oh, can you mute your mic?
It's a scientist article.
This is a scientist article.
Yes, you guys are so busy trying to be right. You're harmful. You're harmful to the public. I'm reading.
You're not allowing me to answer. All right, so vaccinations with a SARS-CoV-2 mRNA vaccine revealed HIV hiding in immune cells in blood from people with HIV, according to lab research led by Weill Cornell medicine investigators. A damn mRNA vaccine revealed that these people had HIV in their blood cells. This man said that the damn vaccine is giving people AIDS. So the findings, and I'm going to get to that, published on the 19th of August in Nature Communications, identified new tools for evaluating treatment approaches and development aimed at curing AIDS. There is prior knowledge of the flu vaccine, for example, waking up HIV and exposing it to the immune system. But it has been unclear whether that was only happening in flu-specific T cells, a known place where HIV hides. HIV hides in the T cells. So let's go to the damn findings. We can't sit here and make shit up and then we don't know what's going on. So here's a study by SARS-CoV-2 mRNA vaccines exposed latent HIV to NEF-specific CD8 T cells. This ain't no damn vaccine giving nobody HIV or AIDS. This is showing that the vaccine is exposing HIV in the T cells where they hide. HIV hides in the T cells. If you knew anything about HIV, you know that when they do something, they always do what in the hospitals? They deal with T cell count. T cell count. T cell count. Remember, Magic Johnson was on display. Everybody know that he had no T cell count. Okay, Sean, you making this up. All right, bro. I'm making it up. Huh? T cell count and AIDS. Per the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, one of the indications for diagnosis of AIDS is when the CD4 cell count drops below the 200 cells MM3. The decline in the CD4 what? T cells can lead to optic infections and mortality. All right, let me be a little bit more clear. Pull the source up, bruh. Pull the source up, bruh. Zoom in on it, bruh. Let them people know, bruh. Let them know, man. Let them know. It is the decline of the CD4 T cells can lead to the opportunistic infections, and it increases mortality. That's why they say your T cell, you got low T cell count. You might not have long to live. Yada, 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 yada. I heard these people tell people before. But this brother is finna tell me that a mRNA, so we all get AIDS, y'all. If you got the vaccine, you got AIDS. Lo and behold, this motherfucker done said, let me bring them back. Let me bring them back, bro. Let me bring you back. Let me shut up.
Shut up. Are you ready to hear now? I got the article pulled up.
Share the article?
Yes, sir. This is science article. Development of unique Australian COVID.
Hold on. No. You can't touch me.
I gotta shut up.
Where's the link?
You see what I'm saying? People can see through you, bro. People can see through you. A scholar can see through you. Somebody who's just listening to you can't.
Right here.
Are you gonna let me read this article? You read 3.
I want to pull it up and share it.
Development of unique Australian COVID-19 vaccine.
I want to pull the article up and
see, there you go again. There you go. That people can see through you.
Are you hearing what I'm saying? I want you to read it, but I want to share it.
Okay, it is development. Okay, science.
Hold on. Can I get the source? Can I get the source so I can share it so that people can see it?
Okay, no problem. Now, how can I share it in the chat?
It's right
It's
here.
right here.
Look, it's
Look,
something
it's
that
something that
says
says
private
private
chat.
chat.
If you're
If
on
you're
your
on your
phone,
phone,
it says
it says
private chat.
private chat.
You see
You
it?
see it?
There you go.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you.
Now,
You ready?
Now,
Let
hold
me know
on.
when you pulled it up, and then I can read just
Hold
like
on.
you
Hold
read.
on.
I'm pulling
And
it
then I'd
up.
love
I'm
to
gonna
hear
let you
your
read it.
opinion on it.
I'm pulling it up and I'm gonna let you read it.
I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
All right, go
All right,
ahead.
go ahead.
There you go. Development of
Development of
unique Australian
Australian
COVID-19
Go ahead, you
vaccine.
got the flow. You read it, they can hear you better than me.
Okay, you gotta
Okay,
go
you
on
gotta
mute.
go on mute.
All right.
All right, here's the source. This is what it's using. So let's read it, and we're gonna read it carefully. Unexpected immune response to HIV protein fragment in vaccine produced antibodies that could confuse screening tests for the AIDS virus. I'm gonna say this again. Unexpected immune response to HIV protein fragment in vaccine produced antibodies that could confuse screening tests for the AIDS virus. Here we go. Now, science COVID-19 reporting, right, is supported by the Poulter Center in Howson Simons Foundation. The baggers of Australia's homegrown COVID-19 vaccine candidate today announced halt to its further development after some of the first people to receive the vaccine in a safety trial generated antibodies to an unintended target, the AIDS virus. A small fragment of an HIV protein is a component of the vaccine used to add stability to the intended antibody target, the spike protein of the pandemic coronavirus SARS-CoV-2. Although the added component didn't represent an actual infection with HIV, the vaccine developers and the Australian government concluded a widespread rollout of the candidate would interfere with HIV diagnostic tests, decide not to proceed to larger clinical trials that would have measured its protection against COVID-19. Given the strong efficacy shown by several recent COVID-19 vaccines, it's likely that other candidates still in development will now have a higher bar to clear to move forward. The molecular clamp technology behind the Australian vaccine was developed by researchers at the University of Queensland with support from the global nonprofit Correlation for Epidemic Preparedness Intervention, which has backed multiple COVID-19 vaccines. CLS Limited, an Australia-based pharmaceutical firm licensed UQ candidate, was planning to steer it through phase 2 and 3 and manufacture it. Among current COVID-19 vaccines, the molecular clamp is a unique approach, Taylor says, a virologist from Griffin University, Gold Coast, who was not affiliated with the vaccine effort. He explains that like many COVID-19 vaccines, including several that appear to have clear efficacy, the UQ-CSL candidate presents the SARS-CoV-2 spike, so the human body will generate antibodies to the protein. Spike plays a central role in SARS-CoV-2, infecting cells, folding, and reconfiguring as it goes through the process of attaching to a receptor protein so the virus can fuse to a human cell. The molecular clamp approach centers a pre-fusion configuration, which exposes parts of the spike hitting in the post-fusion form and may generate a more robust antibody response. But this conformation of the spike protein is unstable, so the Australian team introduced a bit of a molecular material, the molecular clamp, to hold it in position. The UQ team found that a small 80 amino acid fragment of an HIV protein provided this stability. Other groups have introduced mutations into the gene for spike to create a more stable form. Here we go. Unfortunately, that HIV fragment also generated antibodies that can confuse diagnostic tests. researchers recognize the possibility that the HIV component might invoke an immune response, but it is unexpected that the levels induced would infer with certain HIV tests. Reads a joint statement announcing the halt of the candidate development that was posted online by UQ and CSL. Aside from the problematic HIV protein immune response, the vaccine given to 216 participants in July elicited a robust response toward the virus SARS-CoV-2 and had strongly safety profile, according to the statement. The phase 1 safety trial will continue to see how long antibodies to the HIV protein persist. Though indications are that levels are already falling, the university plans to submit full data for peer-reviewed publication. Although it might be possible to re-engineer the vaccine, doing so would set back development by a year or so. Paul Young, of the UK virologist who co-leads the vaccine team, noted in a joint statement. He described the phase 1 results as really encouraging and said that with further work, the molecular clamp technology would be a robust platform for future vaccine development. In a statement, the CEPI announced it still believes the concepts underlying the vaccine technology show great promise and will continue to support the work. Australian media reported the government has signed a deal to buy 51 million doses of the vaccine, but that also has surely agreements for 3 other potential approving COVID-19 vaccines. The vaccine supplies in absence of the UQ vaccine should not be an issue, assuming some of the others are successful in their phase 3 trials. Sanjay Sinyahe, an infectious disease specialist, says, and stated by the Australian media. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this article was written in December 11th in 2020. Okay? As you just heard, let's look what molecular clamp is. For those of you who don't know, prior to 2020, the threat of a novel virus pandemic was omnipresent but largely ignored. Just 12 months prior to coronavirus 19, receiving a correlation to epidemic preparedness intervention, you remember seeing this in that article, to establish and validate a response pipeline for a subunit vaccine development based on a proprietary molecular clamp platform. Through the course of 2019, we conducted tests on rapid antigen production against 2 potential emerging viral pathogens. All right. So this is what they're illustrating here. So if you saw what I just did, if you click on this, it'll take you to that. Now, the article tells you from the onset that backers of an Australian homegrown COVID-19 vaccine candidate today announced a halt to its further development after some of the first people to receive the vaccine in a safety trial generated antibodies to an unintended target, the AIDS virus. What did it do? Generate antibodies to an unintended target, the AIDS virus. A small fragment of HIV protein is a component of the vaccine used to add stability to an intended antibody target. This went to an unintended target, the spike protein of the pandemic coronavirus SARS-CoV-2. Now, although they added the added component didn't represent an actual infection with HIV, the vaccine developers and the Australian government concluded a widespread rollout of the candidate would interfere with HIV diagnostic tests and decide not to proceed with larger clinical trials that would have measured its protection against COVID-19. You have people in the middle of a pandemic using, and this is Australia. Now, the brother did retract. The brother retracted. He went back and he said in his retract that they were using a protein, right? It didn't say it gave people AIDS. It didn't say it gave people HIV. Nothing here says that it gave them AIDS and that it gave them HIV. But here's the bigger thing. This ain't even an mRNA vaccine. Remember, he said that mRNA vaccines, we can replay it. I can pull it back up. He was very clear.
Is it okay?
Go ahead, bro.
Okay. Bro, you clearly read that they, without anybody's permission, decided to take a component, which they use in all vaccines, right?
No.
No, wait a minute. Hold on. They use spike proteins are used to make vaccines.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, spike proteins were used just to make this one. Okay. So wait a minute. See, I just want to show the audience a point. I want to show them a point. I'll let you read my article and then say nothing. I'm talking for 2 minutes and here your ass go. I let you read my article because I knew that my facts are that whoever it is,
mRNA.
See, there you go again, bro. The fact of the evidence is that HIV spike proteins, I never said that. You ran off on that tangent because that's what y'all like to do in front of intelligible folks. Y'all like to run off in a tangent and say I'm saying absolutes. That's that old tricks. The facts are, bro, that they use the spike protein of AIDS. They could have used anything.
They didn't use the spike protein of AIDS.
It's in the article you just read. It's in the beginning. A small fragment of the protein was added to the vaccine. There you go again. I'm telling you, scholars can see through you, bro. The general public, no. Scholars, yes.
I'm trying to help you.
No, you're not helping nobody. You're just informing everybody by downplaying the fact that they said in the article a small fragment of the protein was added to the vaccine as stability. That's what they do. That's what they do. They try to strengthen stabilities of these vaccines with these spike proteins. It says it right there, bro. But you're going to sit up here and act like you didn't read that. I didn't say anything. You ran on that tangent like all y'all do. Oh, now that vaccine giving people AIDS. No,
listen, man, you made a mistake, and I'm trying to help you clear up the mistake. You made a mistake. You keep saying that they use AIDS, you keep saying that they're putting AIDS in these vaccines. That's not the case. You don't understand. You don't even understand what it says. You said that mRNA vaccines they're using AIDS in an mRNA vaccine. I said, this is not an mRNA vaccine, and you tried to argue against that. That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was you kept saying that they're using an AIDS protein. You keep equating HIV, a small fragment of an HIV protein, with AIDS. You keep doing that. The article is not saying that. The article is not saying your phone froze up. It is not saying that at all. I'm gonna read this again because you seem to not comprehend. And this is what I'm talking about. For some reason, you say you got trust issues. You went to freaking Australia to pull up an article about Australia, and then you clearly in your argument try to clean it up and say, well, we ain't using that vaccine over here. So what the hell they got to do with us? You're claiming a trust issue. You went to Australia, but you tend to trust that they're using AIDS in the vaccine because that's what you clearly stated. I didn't make that up. It says the backers of an Australia's homegrown COVID vaccine. This is 2020. It's about to be 2023. They ain't even using this. They announced a halt to its further development after some of the first people to receive the vaccine in a safety trial generated antibodies to an unintended target, the AIDS virus. So let me just be clear. if you're generating antibodies to an unintended target, the AIDS virus, that means you had to have AIDS if you're generating that, right? That's what you would commonly, since you're saying common sense, if you're thinking that way, right? If this is this is the thought process, you would think, well, in order for you to generate antibodies towards something, you had to be infected with something. You had to be infected with something to generate antibodies against something. HIV is the disease that causes AIDS. I mean, the virus that causes AIDS. Sorry, flip it. You got to get infected with the virus in order to get the disease. AIDS is the disease. HIV is the virus. But this ain't saying that they infected these people with a virus. It is telling you that they used a protein, a small fragment of a protein, as a component for its vaccine. If you know anything about viruses, let me put it on the screen. Let's have a little teaching here. Let me see if I can get an illustration of, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen who have followed this channel, Science with Sean, or read my book, all know that all viruses have some type of spike, right? Viruses do not come without a spike. It needs somewhere to latch onto a cell. I'm going to say this slowly. All viruses have some type of spike. All viruses look different. So let me take this off that. Images of viruses. All right. So let's go to images of viruses. I'm gonna pull this image up right here, and I want to show y'all this. It's very clear if I can get to the image. God damn, this is not hard. All right. Look at the HIV. Look at the HIV virus. It has spikes. Look at hepatitis B. It has spikes. Ebola has a significant spike. It just looks weird as hell. Adenoviruses have spikes. Influenza has spikes. Rabies has spikes. Bacteriophage has spike. Down there, just look different. The papillomavirus has spike. The rotavirus has spike. The herpes virus has spike. They all have them, and they all mutate, and they all do different things. Now, you need to know how viruses infect you, but now you have a clear indication that all viruses have spikes. They used, again, ladies and gentlemen, they used not the virus. We have to be very clear. Not the virus. You see how he got me off target from the initial argument that was on Facebook to all the way to this shit? We're way off the where we need to be in the argument, but it's okay. We talking science, we talking viruses, we talking vaccines. I'm strong in this suit. Been doing this for a while. So they took a small fragment of an HIV protein. So let's look that up. Let's look up an HIV protein. And we're going to go a little bit further than that, right? Because we're using his source. So here's proteins, HIV, right? Key HIV protein structure revealed. Let's click on that. This model shows a bird's eye view of the trimeric structure of ENV, a protein of the HIV surface that enables it to infect cells, right? This is this. Now, researchers have developed more detailed pictures of a protein largely responsible for enabling HIV to enter human immune cells. This is where we get the picture. All right. But what we want to know is this. Let's be more specific. And a small fragment of an HIV protein cause HIV or AIDS. Jeez. Now, I don't want to get into this because this goes back to what he was trying to say, but he messed his argument all the way up. An attempt COVID-19 vaccine that contained a fragment of HIV protein was dropped because it led some to false positive HIV tests. But here we go. To infect cells, the HIV protein envelope binds to a primary cell. We just want to know if it can cause an engineered protein fragment blocks the AIDS virus. So let's go to another science article. This is why they were using the protein, right? Engineered protein fragment blocks the AIDS virus from entering cells. If you know how vaccines work, and this is a shame, you have to use a piece of a virus, right? Manipulate it in a sense, and then infect the cell so that it can replicate an immune response, so it can build up antibodies to refute, right? If you understand the science behind that, then you can understand the method behind it. However, this is delicate because this is a fragment of an HIV protein. So I don't even want to get into the full story. So let's deal with this. And what could be a potential breakthrough in the battle against AIDS? A major development in a rational design of new drug scientists have engineered a new protein that prevents the virus from entering the cells. And this is what they use, ladies and gentlemen. A new protein that prevents the virus from entering the cells. This is the same protein that goes back into the vaccine that they were using. But this is Australia. This ain't got nothing to do with us. They're trying to prevent something. The protein fragment is based on a naturally occurring protein called RANTS. Let's see if this was used in creating, well, in the Australia's vaccine, which is part of the body's immune system. RANTS naturally defends the body against HIV/AIDS, but cannot be used as a drug or drug candidate because it has several other biological effects which could cause harmful inflammation. After examining the precise molecular structure of the RANTS protein, researchers discovered only a small fragment of the RANTS protein is actually responsible for blocking HIV entry into cells. From there, they dissected and desired section of the RANTS protein and worked to stabilize it without compromising its protective effects. So let's see if RANTS was used in Australia's vaccine. I'm going down a rabbit hole because we know this, they stopped this shit. And now I'm gonna get back to his. I gotta get back on point because he got me all off point. He got me all the way off point. Nope, this ain't gonna have it. You go back. What's the name of this damn vaccine? UQCLS. UQCLS. There we go. Update the University of Queensland COVID vaccine. Let's deal with it. Maybe this don't give us. Okay, let's see. UQ, blah, 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 talks about the trial, yada, 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 phase 1 data antibodies. There's no possibility. All right, there is no possibility the vaccine causes infection, and routine follow-up tests confirm there is no HIV present. All right, so here we go. Now, we read the article. This article was published December 11, 2020. This article was published December 11, 2020. Okay. Now, the University of Queensland announced that the phase 1 trial of its vaccine has shown that it elicits a robust response toward the virus and has a strong safety profile. There were no serious adverse events or safety concerns reported in 216 trial participants. However, from consultation with Australian government, CSL will not progress the vaccine candidate to phase 2 or 3. Let's find out why. Queensland Commerce phase 1 COVID-19 vaccines assess safety and immunogenicity in healthy volunteers. CLS was working towards taking responsibility of phase 2 and 3 large-scale manufacture of the vaccine upon completion of successful trials. The phase 1 data showed the generation of antibodies directed toward fragments of a protein. This is the protein that was used, all right? So now we can rule out the other one, the recants. Protein GP41, which is a component used to stabilize the vaccine. Trial participants were fully informed of the possibility of a partial immune response to this component, but it was unexpected the levels induced were interfered with certain HIV tests. Here we go. Certain HIV tests. There's no possibility the vaccine, I'm going to say this slowly. Boy, there's a few things that I like about this article that I can, because it can help me research further. And I'll tell y'all in just a second. But I really want to get back on point, but I'm really going to tell y'all this too, because y'all need to see how I be going through this process. Bruh, the brother phone broke. I don't know if he's still here or not, but his phone froze and I don't know if he came back. There is no possibility the vaccine causes infection, and routine follow-up tests confirm there is no HIV virus present. Y'all want me to continue? The good guy, you want me to continue? With advice from experts, the CSL and UQ have worked through the implications that the issue presents to rolling out the vaccine to the broad population. It is generally agreed that significant changes would need to be made to well-established HIV testing. So now they're saying that they need to improve their HIV testing because this is showing up in HIV tests, but there's no HIV virus present. I'm going to say this again. They're admitting that they need to upgrade their test. What is it? Listen, it says it is generally agreed that, right here, it is generally agreed that significant changes would need to be made to well-established HIV testing procedures in healthcare settings to accommodate the vaccine rollout. In order for them to proceed. Until that, they're not going to proceed. I'm going to drop this in the chat for those of you that might be interested in this. If you're interested in this, But I need to go back. Hold on, Emmanuel. I'm finna let you back in. I see you came back because you fell all the way out. We see, but we can't.
Oh, I ain't saying anything.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I perused the comments and I see that there's a distinct disconnect with what I'm saying. Okay. A broad disconnect. You just read the article articulating what I said. I said they are using HIV spike proteins in the vaccine. I cut it at that. You said I was lying. You said I was inaccurate. I saw those Sarnita words, that pseudoscience, because y'all all, I knew this was that type of same situation. My only point
don't
was
do that over here, bro. I'm trying to equate. No, hell no. I'm tired of you doing that. Do not equate us to no fucking Sarnita, bro. It's disrespectful. It's disrespectful.
I'm not above apologizing. I'm generalizing, and you're right. Okay, and I apologize for that. But my point is that I'm seeing the same kind of scholastic patterns, right? Where yes, but this is why I'm saying this. How did you not know that they were using the spike protein? You argue me up and down about it. And now wait a minute. See, there you go again. When I start talking, you start talking, and then your fan base says that I'm crazy. That's why I talk about the tactics, right? I gave you an article. It's a science journal. They articulate about the fact that they use the spike proteins. My thing is as you correctly articulated, this is an article from 2020, right? Why are you so far in the process already in 2020, right? That you are already trying to make a vaccine. And where did you pull the COVID protein out your ass to add to this? These are things I would like to know. That's where the trust goes. See, let me finish. And I'm done. There you go again. There you go again. If let me finish my point, because that's what scholars do. They allow the other person. You articulated, you bantered, they cheerleaded on the sideline. I was here for it all. As soon as I start talking, and it makes any kind of coherent sense, here you go.
Do you understand why?
There you go.
You understand? You asked the question.
God damn. Can't you shut up for a second, dog? Damn.
Nigga, shut the fuck up. It's you asked a question. I'm trying to answer your question. I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful. You said something, and if I just let you talk, then I lose what you said, bro. If I just let you talk, I lose it. So I'm trying to when you ask, I'm trying to answer it so that it's in the moment so I don't lose it. Because if I just shut up and let you talk, I ain't gonna remember what you said. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I'm not gonna remember what you said. You saying so much. I can't wait till you done. You asked, how did they get the protein? First of all, I'm trying to give clarity to the first thing you said. They used a small fragment of an HIV protein that has nothing to do with the spike. Listen, they used a small fragment of an HIV protein as a component for the vaccine to target an antibody response to the spike. They're using a protein as a component of the vaccine used to add stability intended antibody target. Let me put it back on the screen real slow, because this is where the breakdown in communication is, because you're asking two things, and then I'll get into the spike. It's real simple for me to answer that. A small fragment of an HIV protein is a component of the vaccine used to add stability to the intended antibody target, the spike protein. So they use a small fragment of an HIV protein as a component for its vaccine to add stability to an antibody target, which is the spike protein of the SARS virus, not the AIDS virus, none of that. Let me bring it back in real slow because the comprehension is out of whack. I'm saying real slowly. They are using a fragment. Well, not they are using, because this is 2020. This is what Australia was doing in 2020. We ain't got this problem in the United States. Your initial claim was that mRNA vaccines had AIDS and shit in it. Then you start running around that. So real slowly, brother. Australia was using a small fragment of an HIV protein as a component for its vaccine to stabilize intended antibody targets from the SARS-CoV-2 protein. Now, how the hell did they get this spike protein? Well, all viruses have a spike. The very first D614G, which is the virus, the OG virus, right? In China, right? When a virus first broke out, what they did was, and if you understood what happened, is just like your DNA. What do they do with your DNA? Huh? You extract someone's DNA and then you come up with yada, 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 yada. They did the same thing. Let me put it on the screen for you, because I don't want you thinking I'm making something up. And I'm trying to have this dialogue because I need to answer your, I'm cutting you off because I need to answer your questions. Because I don't want nobody to think I'm messing it up. You see this? I just told you the D614G, right? They use the machine, brother. They use the machine to break this down and find out how or where how this virus look, where it's attacking, this protein, all of that. Because all virus, do you know? Did you know that all this is a protein? SARS-CoV-2. This all this is a protein. Is it? It's a protein. They figured it all out right there. You want to know what this is? It's simple. There you go. So let me put this up here real quick, and then we can move forward, because this takes me back to 2020, and we're beyond that. D614G mutation is characterized by an aspartic acid to glycine shift in amino acid position 614 of the protein. Studies have shown that the D614 mutation in the spike protein of severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus makes it infectious transmittable. What is this mutation? It is characterized by a permanent change in the DNA sequence. So they sequenced the DNA. That's why I didn't give you the answer. I just pulled it up. So you asked about how did you get the spike anyway? They sequenced the DNA of the original virus. That is how you know the mutations. So in your initial onset of your article that you're using, bro, they're using a small fragment of an HIV protein as a component for the vaccine to add stability to an intended antibody target. The antibody target is the spike of the SARS-CoV-2, not the spike of HIV. Of HIV. They're not using the spike of HIV. They're using a protein, a fragment of a protein component for its vaccine. SARS to fight against the spike protein of the SARS-CoV-2. I hope that clears it up for you, because I really want to get back to the points.
I'm afraid to speak because I know you're gonna cut me off and go on another rant. So I don't even know what else to do. I mean, anybody intelligible can just say that you just thoroughly agree with me that they were using the protein. And that was my whole premise for my statement, which is you said before we even went into this horizontal diatribe that you didn't even know they were using it. Then you go in and act like you've been.
No, I didn't. I didn't say that I know that they were.
Let me finish. Please let me finish. Right? The whole audience, I'm reading the comments, are acting like I just hit them with something new. And then you keep regurgitating these premises like people can't intelligently understand what a protein is versus the actual virus and things like that. My point is that we did not know their methods. We didn't, if anybody knew in the beginning that, hey, we're going to roll out this experimental thing and we're extrapolating different things and components to try to save y'all. One of them is the HIV protein. We need to know that kind of stuff. We need to know that you're on the sideline developing an HIV vaccine along the way with a COVID vaccine. That's why I put the link for the HIV vaccine that they're developing. You're not the only one who digs down the rabbit hole, right? We all do. Some of us, when we don't see what we like, we move around, right? I'm not accusing
I'm talking about an HIV vaccine right now. What
you say? I don't know if you muted my chat or not. I don't know if I muted my chat or not, but that's my central premise. My central premise is that there are nefarious things going on that we do not know about. That was my whole point. Then you go in trying to, go ahead and say, well, this is why they're doing it, and this is why it makes sense. Your whole audience didn't even catch the fact that you told me that they weren't even using the protein.
No.
First, you tried to run on this tangent saying that I was one of these people that go polaric, right? Oh, they're putting AIDS in the vaccine. I ain't doing that old goofy ass barbershop.
You said it.
No, I did not. I said,
okay, hold on. No. Don't go no further. Just hold on. Don't go no further. I'm gonna put a video up and I'm gonna play it back. This is why I kept stopping you, because I needed to have clarity. I'm gonna put a video up and I'm about to let you hear yourself.
However you want to misconstrue or whatever it is. The point is, the article I sent you clearly stated the protein. Let me ask you this. Did you know the proteins were in use before this?
You said it, yes.
I'm asking you that.
Okay. Which proteins are we talking about?
HIV, the small fragment you keep
they always are using it.
They always smaller. The small fragment. That's what I'm talking about. That you said didn't exist. And then
I didn't say it didn't exist. I said what didn't exist is them using AIDS in the mRNA vaccine.
Then I also said, when I introduced this to other scholars, they told me that it was happening in Australia. Why am I concerned about things in Australia? I said that entire sentence, and maybe you misunderstood what I was trying to say, because y'all usually get those barbershop arguments of A plus B equals C.
I don't, bro, you got barbershop argument from me. I'm the one who said people use barbershop arguments. No one was saying that. I don't do the barbershop argument. So let me just Let me be clear. You said that they were using HIV proteins in mRNA vaccines. And I said, no, they are not. That vaccine in Australia is not an mRNA vaccine. You did say that, brother. And I was trying to correct you on that. And then you said, because that's why I kept cutting you off. Because I was like, no, that's not right. Let's just deal with it how we need to deal with it. That's why I asked you for your source, because it would provide clarity. Because there was clearly a miscommunication between you and I and what you were saying, because you kept correlating HIV and AIDS. You kept on saying they're putting AIDS in the vaccines. They putting AIDS in the mRNA vaccine. I was like, no, they not. Everybody heard it. That's where the confusion came in. That's the only reason that I was so adamant about cutting you off, is because you were saying some things and it was going together and it was clearly not the case. So let's be clear, because we need to get back to the point. I agree. We do need to know these things. We need to know all things. So you know what they did here in the United States since the pandemic kicked off? They made all COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 related information open access. All studies, all trials, all ingredients, all the entire methodological process, the virological aspects. They did everything to open the door for us to be able to be coherent and transparent in this process that has never been done any other time a vaccine was being created or any type of treatment was being created for us. That's never been done before. Now, you might not, you either agree with that or you don't agree with that, and that's fine. But what I'm trying to tell you is we're going back to the point. Trust. Yes, they need to show us everything. Open the books. Because we need to be able to go in those books and understand how to extract the information to confirm it for ourselves to see if we even want to get the vaccine or not. But how do we know if something is true or not if we just opening it and don't understand what we're reading? So we have to go and learn the things and the ways of how this stuff is working so that we can come to an honest conclusion. You're changing the conversation now. When I'm telling you that they're not using AIDS and all of that in mRNA vaccine, I am referring to. Never mind. Let me pull it up, bro. Never mind. You're not going to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's that constant rebuttal when disagreement is in order.
No, you're not going to understand what I'm saying, bro. I already had this article up. The article that you just put in the chat, I already had this article.
That's why I put it up, because I want to revisit it.
Okay. So, all right. Now you want to revisit it. So let's deal with it. It says, vaccination with SARS-CoV-2 mRNA vaccine revealed HIV hiding its immune cells in blood from people with HIV. According to lab research by Will Cornell medical investigators. This was published in Nature Communications. Hold on, let's get going. I gotta read it so everybody knows what's going on. We back to the same article that I already had on the screen before. Now, there is prior knowledge of flu vaccines, for example, waking up HIV and exposing it to the immune system, but it has been unclear whether that has only happened in flu-specific T cells, a known place where HIV hides. And then that is where I went into the whole spiel with everyone knows that HIV hides in the T cell. It destroys T cells. That's why they say your T cell count too low. Our findings are exciting as we demonstrate a more powerful effect with SARS-CoV-2 mRNA vaccines. It woke up HIV hiding in T cells and blood from people with no previous exposure to the virus or the vaccine. Boom, boom, boom. HIV attacks the body's immune cells and tricks them into making copies of itself. Antiretroviral therapy, ART, transforms HIV infection into a manageable chronic disease by keeping the virus from multiplying, lowering viral load in the blood levels to help restore a healthy immune system and significantly reduce the risk of transmitting the virus to others. However, ART does not cure HIV, as some viruses that not actively multiplying remains hidden in immune cells, called the latent HIV reservoir. Scientists have been investigating ways to tease HIV out of that reservoir using latency reversal agents so that it may be exposed to immune cells. For their research, investigators, including the co-first authors, Eva Stevenson, Sandra Terry, Denise Cupertino, Members like Dr. Jones' lab treat blood from individuals with HIV who were unvaccinated. Treated blood from individuals with HIV who were unvaccinated and had never had COVID-19 to the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines in test tubes. The Pfizer vaccine produced greater release of HIV RNA. So real quick for people who don't understand, this team of investigators used blood from individuals who had HIV that never got vaccinated. They exposed the blood to both Moderna and Pfizer's vaccines. The Pfizer vaccine produced a greater release of HIV RNA, which means it is exposing that reservoir that was just mentioned. Next, researchers analyzed blood from individuals with HIV before COVID vaccine, and after each of 2 shots in particular, they found that the killer CD8 plus T cells, that target cells marked by an early gene product of HIV called NEF, had released the protein enzyme B, a robust marker of recent attempts by the CD8 plus T cells to kill HIV. This response observed after the first shot was correlated with a subsequent reduction in HIV RNA, suggesting some eliminations of infected cells by the boosted CD8 T cells. Previous work by Dr. Jones and his team suggested that evaluating responses in NEF-specific CD8 T cells might be more useful method of measuring latency reversal than HIV RNA, since RNA ultimately may not be turned into protein they can be recognized by the immune system. The present study confirms their hypothesis. Okay, everybody should know what RNA is. DNA, RNA. Now, importantly, our lab studies found no evidence that exposing HIV reservoirs in an infecting individual using mRNA vaccinations would pose a risk of transmission to others. We observed no appreciable level of HIV RNA in blood plasma following vaccine boost, and expected continued ART would block any potential HIV replication. Dr. Jones and his lab validated their findings using de-identified blood samples provided by co-authors from the Rockefeller University and Simon Fraser University in British Columbia, Canada. We plan to analyze the NEF-specific CD8 plus T cells and look for the granzyme B production as improved metrics for assessing latency reversal in clinical trials, where the goal is to wake up HIV and expose it to the immune system. The goal is to wake up HIV and expose it to the immune system, and hope other investigators will too. It's nice to see that, it is nice to see mRNA vaccine development come full circle. Efforts to cure HIV in the 90s using mRNA technology led to the development of today's COVID-19 vaccines. That is not only just the 90s, but they were doing this back in the 70s, dealing with RNA. Now, COVID-19 mRNA vaccines are opening a new door for HIV research, which I have information on to deal with some good news about some early trials that deal with that. But that's another subject matter. So we just read the article. We understand that they were using mRNA vaccines to expose the HIV virus that hides in a reservoir. That's all this is saying. This ain't saying that it's HIV and AIDS and mRNA vaccines. They're using this to help them identify this in people who already had HIV. We can't hear you, bro.
Okay.
There you
Can you
go.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you revisiting, and I asked that because I didn't thoroughly go through it, and the audience has said that I can't, they can't hear me intelligibly. So you got the platform, you can hear it. The reason I wanted to review it was because, like you said, I'm not out here trying to push false narratives or conspiracies or whatever. This is based upon what I've been reading and reviewing. And there is a timeline that is not coherent. You were already working on a vaccine in 2020 that used an HIV spike protein. There are trillions of spike proteins you can use to do all the wonderful things you just stated that they wanted to do, right? Why didn't we know this, right? My whole basis was trust, right? I've thoroughly investigated the do's, the don'ts, the whys not. I don't advocate for or against the vaccine, right? I'm just saying that the elephant in the room is trust. And I showed you one prominent example of it. Now, we did go to sidetrack because I don't know what's going on with one scholar speaking, giving them a chance to talk. You asked me several questions in your exchange, right? I know them. I try to address them, right? You're saying your overall theme was, hey, I honestly thought that you told me that you had no evidence. I'm not the person to just say, oh, okay, because when you are in debate and exchange, you want to hear what you want to hear. Some information goes in, some information goes out. But like this general thing was, and why I got so angry was because people act like history can be perverted, food can be perverted, politics can be perverted, but science, that is some holy grail where people will not use data, facts, and quotations to their advantage. And you're sitting here telling me that you're overly confident about everything you read in this article and that article. It's concise and accurate because you're using your cost checking of other words. And all I'm saying is to be honest, none of us truly know what they're out here doing. And the fact that the government, if we were talking about anything else outside of this topic, you would agree with me. But since it's science, right, there is nothing going on nefarious. Everything is on the up and up. And anybody who challenges these premises, right, now they have to get the ABCs. What is scientific merit? What's theory, right? What is theory versus law, right? Like somebody that's 50 years old hasn't combed all these faculties, right? So instead of talking about the premise, you want to ask me, do I know what the checks and balances are? I know what the checks and balances are. The checks and balances of life are for everywhere, right? You have to certify the information. You have to make it valid. We as a community, because I heard some brothers say, he act like there ain't no black sciences out there. Well, take me to our black lab where we are running controlled experiments that are funded entirely by us. Take me there. Show me where we are 100% sure of the data. We're not. That's one topic, right? The other topic is the behavior of government. And I showed you in posts where it's all under a federal regime. So you say, I don't trust government, but I trust science. And all I ask is you, where's the separation of church and state? I know you know what I mean by that. Where does science and government not be in concert? And that was my only thing. My first statement, I don't know why it got so much traction, was I think there is a disconnect because of trust. I didn't say you were lying. I didn't say this. I didn't say that. And we went back and forth. And I say, here's an excellent example of why we don't trust people. I read the chat. Some people were like, man, post this. What is he talking about? Is this true? What variant of HIV is in the vaccine? What is it? And then you go in and say, well, yeah. Da, 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 da. All I'm saying it is there, and it wasn't common knowledge to the public. And you even agreed in your diatribe about 10 minutes ago when you said, yeah, we got to trust this. Yeah, we got to trust that. But anybody who gives you guys pushback for obvious reasons, y'all turn them off. So then they get more ignorant. Right? They go more into self-loathing and making up their own theories and all these different things. Instead of addressing the elephant in the room, they lie. They make up stuff. They do horrible things. It's funny, brothers like yourself will educate me on a documentary of all these mistreatings, right? But then when I point out it's happening now, I'm full of shit. I'll leave it at that.
All right, can you mute your mic for me? All right, so you continue to make the mistake to say that, now let's just be clear, because it's new people that's just joining us that don't understand what's going on and they're coming in like that. So the first problem is you keep insinuating that the people that created the vaccine are using a fragment of, you're not saying a fragment of a protein. You're saying that they're using an HIV spike protein, and that is not what your source says that Australia was using in 2022. It says that they were using a fragment of the HIV protein, a fragment of the protein.
Are you listening to yourself?
Brother, they didn't say that they're using the spike protein from HIV. They said a fragment of.
Define fragment.
All right. God damn, bro.
I feel the same way.
I feel the
same way. Define fragment.
It goes back. Okay,
define fragment, sir. That's all I'm asking you. Because you've been pushing that word for an hour.
Listen, man.
Define fragment.
5 minutes uninterrupted. I let you talk for 5 minutes uninterrupted, and then you try to accuse me of doing the shit that you're doing. I let you.
All I asked you to do is define fragment.
I'm trying to clean up your mess because you keep making it. I heard you.
Is a fragment a piece of or not? What is a fragment? I wasn't great at math, but I think a fractoid is a component of the whole.
Let me know when I can talk. All right. So again, you continue to make the error in saying that they're using the spike protein from an HIV. That is not. Your source tells you that they're using a small fragment of an HIV protein, not the spike from an HIV protein. Not from the virus. They're using a small fragment, a piece of an HIV protein as a component in the vaccine. Not us, Australia. We need to make that clear.
And that's what I said in general. I said before I even begin, let me just say this.
It's comprehension at this point. Then we can deal with trust. I don't trust you. Because you have a comprehension problem, okay? And the reason that you have a comprehension problem is because you don't understand that you keep equating the spike protein of SARS-CoV-2 with the spike protein of HIV when they don't use it at all. A small fragment of an HIV protein. Maybe you need to understand what the hell protein is. So I'm going to give you both. Protein is any class of a nitrogenous organic compound that have large molecules composed of one or more long chains of amino acids and are essential part of all living organisms, especially as a structural component of body tissue such as muscles, hair, etc., enzymes and antibodies. What? Enzymes and antibodies. Why would antibodies come up? Why would antibodies come up? Let me go back. The backers of an Australian homegrown COVID-19 vaccine candidate today announced a halt to its further development after some of the first people to receive the vaccine in a safety trial generated antibodies. Let me go back. What is a protein? What is a protein? Tyson, I don't know why you snore so loud. It rolls it down and talks about body tissue such as muscles, hair, etc., and as enzymes and antibodies. So there we see this come up, and generated antibodies to an unintended target. So it wasn't even intended for this target, the AIDS virus. However, a small fragment of the HIV protein is a component of the vaccine used to add stability to the intended antibody target. The spike protein, what is the intended target? Here is the intended target. The intended target is the spike protein of the pandemic's coronavirus that we call SARS-CoV-2. So to clear up the confusion, bro, you keep trying to say that Australia was using the spike protein from HIV, and that was not the case. They used a small fragment of a protein. That's it. Now that we have clarity on that, hopefully we have clarity on that. We don't have to disagree on that, but we can move forward. So now we can get into other things because you said a lot of stuff in your post. And when you say things like that, what you're doing is you're putting my people that already know this information, you're confusing the hell out of them because they're like, what is you really trying to say, bro? You're confusing them. And this all comes from comprehension. So I got a book it's in the description of this video. It's called What is Scientific Knowledge? This is important because we're talking about trust, right? He brought up history and all this, and then he tried to say they're using HIV and AIDS and mRNA vaccines. They wasn't doing none of that. It's just clearly a misunderstanding on his part that he said that. And it could be an error and he's not getting it through. But I'm trying to correct that so that there's no confusion. There's no damn AIDS or HIV in mRNA vaccines. Then we just read the other article that just cleared it up and says how they're using the mRNA vaccines to expose HIV in that reservoir where it hides. And the Pfizer vaccine does a better job at it than the Moderna vaccine at exposing that reservoir to people. And the blood that they used was people who was infected that had HIV and have never had a vaccine. So they trying to study and know. That whole thing puts you up on game. It provided, listen, we talk about trust. They just told you, bro, we're using these mRNA vaccines to help us learn more about things that we didn't know before. Then you start saying, well, how did you have this back then? And now you're just trying to develop that, bro. They've been studying mRNA technology since the 70s. A lady came over here from a whole nother country along with some other people and began RNA research to figure out better ways to create or prevent viruses from attacking the human body. Since the late 70s, bro. I wrote a book called What SARS-CoV-2 Taught Me. In the book, I illustrate that. I tell you these things. So they've been working on this tech. They've been working on this science and the evolution of this technology for quite some time. They're using certain technologies that help them understand viruses more. They sequence all viruses. Hence, we have different names for different variants of COVID-19. We have different variants of SARS-CoV-2. We have them. We have the D614. We have all these different other. That's the original strand. Then we got Omicron. What's the one with the A? Shit, I can't even think of all of them no more. We got a whole host of stuff. But we in Omicron, and they keep on doing sub-variants of Omicron right now. We done forgot all the other variants because we protected against them. The earlier vaccines protect against them. However, how many scientists does it take to have knowledge? This is interesting. What attitude should scientists have? Good academic practice and a precondition for the production of knowledge. How do medical researchers make casual inferences? How do explanations lead to scientific knowledge? What is scientific understanding and how could it be achieved? I'm putting this book on the screen for a reason, right? Let me just get directly to the fact. What are scientific concepts? How can we tell science from science? How do we know that 2 + 2 = 4? This is what you're talking about right here. This is your argument. How do we know that 2 + 2 = 4? Then we can go on further. Does bias affect our access to scientific knowledge? We got to deal with how. I don't want to read all of this to people. So I'm putting it on the screen where you could actually pause the screen and kind of understand what's going on. Because this chapter deals with how do we know that 2 + 2 = 4? So let's get out of the introduction and let's get right into the argument. In this first challenge, we can see immediately, I don't want to talk about all that. I want to kind of get on to this to hit the second challenge. We seem to know that 2 + 2 = 4 without needing to touch or hear numbers or put them under our microscopes. Indeed, we seem to know it without relying on any kind of empirical evidence at all. That is to say, arithmetical truth appears to be knowable a priori. In a nutshell, the second challenge is simply, what's up with that? Or how is prior knowledge possible? Other kinds of truths also appear to be knowledgeable a priori, such as the logic set of theory. The same challenges faced by epistemologists in these areas, and there may be some methodological reasoning. Look at that word. Methodological reasoning for preferring a unified account of a prior which accommodates all these cases. However, the simplicity and near universal knowledgeability of basic arithmetical truths like 2 + 2 = 4 can make puzzlement about such cases and fields. This is elementary, right? So how do you make 2 + 2 = 4 in science? You have to understand, in order to obtain knowledge in or around specifics, you have to have a basis for demonstration. This entire chapter argues on how to get to knowledge. I don't need to make it up. I don't need to bore you to death. But once you understand how to add, then you can build on addition. If you don't know how to add, then you don't understand why 2 + 2 = 4 per se. Science works in the same way. It requires a level of challenge and understanding that allows us to falsify if 2 + 2 = 4. So to say. And I'm trying to help you realize with elements here, right? This is another book, Steps Toward a Unified Basis for Scientific Models and Methods. This book is explaining to you about models and methods. Clearly, there's a host of ways. So when we're talking about science, bro, there's things that we need to know in science that allows us to arrive at understanding the knowledge that comes before us when we're reading these scientific articles. We don't want to just take these people's word and we agree there. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust anyone. I rely on data. To be more specific, I use my ability to think critically in order to do that. And I'm putting these on the screen because I'm letting you know what my knowledge comes from. Understanding how to identify reasons and conclusions. I'm telling you this. Clear as day. My ability to think critically. This book right here, bro, is so fire that you'll learn a lot. But let me do this. Let me do this because I know you got something to say.
I'm still where I left off. Can you just read a definition of fragment? That's it. That's why it's so funny.
No.
That's what. No,
it told you in your article.
Read the definition of fragment.
It told you in your article, bro, what they were referring to.
What is a fragment, bro?
It told you in your article that it's a small part, broken and separated off.
I'm gonna refrain from the generalizations because they're not fair.
I answered it.
I want to just hear it. What is a fragment?
All right. So, a fragment, one more time, bro, is a small part broken or separated off something. Small part broken or separated off something. They're telling you that they got a small part of an HIV protein. They didn't say shit about spike. You said that it's the spike. No, it's not.
Like my grandpa said, you're gonna shave this to the fine tooth to your right. That's what you're gonna do. You just not gonna say they whatever, it's a piece of it.
No. A piece of what? A piece of what? A piece of what? A piece of what?
Take if it appeases you not to take the word spike off.
No.
If it appeases you protein.
I didn't take spike off. Bro.
If it no. Whatever you want to do. I didn't take spike off. It's okay. All I was saying is that they used it. And then they didn't use corn. They used a little piece of corn. I'm like, come on, bro. We doing
spike.
Remove it. I don't care. It's still
I'm asking you. Who removed spike?
No, I'm just saying. You went on for 2 hours telling your audience that I was incorrect about what was going on.
You said
all it is right there in that highlighted piece you got right there. For whatever people want to believe, they use a fragment.
Let me educate you again. Let me educate you again, because you don't understand that. What is the difference between HIV protein and HIV spike protein? Look, structural similarity between HIV 1GP4-1. A coronavirus spike protein plays a very important role in the virus. But we want a specific answer. What is the difference between that? Let's deal with HIV. Let's just get specific. These are proteins, y'all. I put this on the screen before. Proteins. I put this on the screen before. And people are acting like I didn't put this on the screen before. So I'm finna go to Rutgers University to explain to him what the hell the article is trying to tell him. Not me. I'm gonna let the article tell him what they're trying to do. Right? I'm gonna have to find it. I'm gonna have to go in here and find it. Well, not Rutgers. My bad. I probably clicked on the wrong. There we go. There go the article. My bad. Understanding the structure of HIV protein may lead to novel treatments. So let's be clear. In the discovery that could spur the development of new therapies for more than 40 million HIV patients worldwide, scientists from Rutgers and Salk Institute determined the molecular structure of the HIV polyprotein, a protein that plays a critical role in helping the virus propagate itself and spread throughout the body. Okay, now I don't want to deal with the HIV polyprotein because what happens? It breaks into 3 enzymes. I don't want to deal with that. So how many HIV proteins are there? Structure and genome of this. HIV envelope proteins. You see, do y'all see where I'm going with this? Anybody see where I'm going with this? Proteins, HIV. My bad. Let's just be clear. Golly, man. Listen, look, 15 distinct proteins. This man finna tell me there's 50. This man finna tell me that they're talking about the spike protein in the article, and they ain't. This is what I mean by comprehension. HIV type 1 is a complex retrovirus encoding 15 distinct proteins. Substantial progress has been made toward understanding the function of each protein and 3-dimensional structures of many components, including portions of the RNA genome, have been determined. This review describes the function of each component in context of the viral life cycle, the GAG and the N structural proteins, the MA, the CA, the NC, the P6, the SU, the TM, the polyenzymes, the PR protease, the RT, and the IN, and the gene regulator proteins TAT and REV, and the accessory proteins NEF, VIF, VPR, and VPU. Y'all heard this come up in the previous article, NEF. That's all 15 of the proteins right here. This is what this article deals with. So now we know that there's 15 proteins. So here you go, ladies and gentlemen. I tried to show y'all an image earlier of the HIV virus and how it does things. So here you go, a full figure. Boom. Everything that was mentioned in the article, all these little lines represent proteins. All of this stuff up top, you're dealing with proteins right here. You're dealing with proteins. So now, what is going on? Proteins, look. We're dealing with them. So instead of us sitting over here going back and forth about some problems, let's learn here. What can we actually learn here? That we need to slow down and understand what the article is saying. A small fragment of an HIV protein. So what you should be saying is, which HIV protein? Because there's 15 HIV proteins. It ain't say nothing about the spike protein of HIV. And you said that, and you were wrong. I'm not trying to go on these tangents. I'm trying to show you where your error is, bro. I'm not trying to act like I'm smarter than you, brighter than you, or none of that. I am showing you very nice and politely where you keep making a mistake because you keep insinuating something that it ain't. And that ain't even it. So your lack of trust can come from comprehension. which goes back to what I said in my post, that you have a comprehension problem because you're not understanding that they said a small fragment of an HIV protein. There's 15 different HIV proteins. You ain't understanding that. And I kept telling you that it's not the spike protein. They're talking about the spike protein of the SARS-CoV-2. And you keep not trying to understand or comprehend that. So now you got to go back to the Australian vaccine from 2022 and find out which protein that they were using. We found out which protein that they were using. Remember, I pulled up the article. Let me go back to it. Where it's at? Here you go. Here go the article right here. Phase 1 trying to where it's at? V51. All right, in July. Immunogenicity. Here you go. The protein. Listen. Directed toward phase 1 data show generation of antibodies directed toward fragments of a protein. Here go the protein they're talking about. GP41. So now we can go back to this article and look for the GP41 protein. Or we ain't even got to do that. We can just do this. Put GP41 in and let's see what happens. So we can go to Wiki and pull up the GP41, also known as the glycoprotein. Glycoprotein 41 is a subunit of an envelope of protein complex of retroviruses included in HIV. The GP41 is a transmembrane protein that contains several sites within an ectodomain that are required for infection of a host. As a result of its importance in host cell infection, it has also received much attention as a potential target for HIV vaccines. Continue. The GP41 is coded with GP120 as one of the GP160s by the ENV gene. So now we got the gene. What? So let's go back to this figure. The ENV gene. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Here we go over here, around here, the ENV gene, huh? Let's go on and do our thing. Now, let's be more specific. The GP41 is coded with the GP120 as one of the GP160s of the ENV gene. The ENV is a viral gene that encodes the protein forming the viral envelope. This ain't the spike protein of the HIV virus. The expression of the ENV gene enables retroviruses to target and attach to specific cell types and to infiltrate the target cell member. Let's just go ahead and say it's the spike protein. They're using a piece of the spike protein in the HIV. They're using a piece of the spike protein from HIV to prevent SARS-CoV-2 from infecting the cell. Let's say that. Let's use your thought process. We're using your logic. Your logic.
Can I speak?
Hold on. We're gonna use your logic. Just hold on. We're gonna use your logic. They use hold
on, you're doing a lot of, can I say?
No. We're using, not they, not me, not you. Australia's vaccine team is using a piece of a protein. But in this instance, you're saying that they're using a piece of the spike. So they're using a piece of the spike protein to prevent SARS-CoV-2 from infecting people. They already told us that it ain't giving people HIV. How do we know that? Because we already read the article, right? We already read this. There is no possibility the vaccine causes infection, and routine follow-up tests confirm there is no HIV virus present. This is how I know. This is how we know. So we can go back and play with the GP that's going to lead us to the V and lead us to all these other areas around where the virus affects the cell. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to build a safety spot between your cells and how the virus affects those cells. So Australia used a piece of a fragment of a protein that is GP41 to prevent SARS-CoV-2 from infecting people. There was no HIV in these people. They're using a part of a protein to prevent. But because we hear HIV, that's an issue. So let me give you another example. They use the cold virus, right? They use proteins from a cold virus to create other vaccines that prevent people from getting all these other things, like all these other sicknesses. They used a piece of the cold virus, which is a retrovirus, to prevent people from getting COVID. Let's go to Johnson & Johnson. I'll let you speak, but I need to go to Johnson & Johnson. When we go to Johnson & Johnson, Janssen's vaccine stuff, this is what we've already did already. Shit, I'm going backwards. Now we're talking about how vaccines are created and designed. Here go the ingredients. There go the ingredients for the Janssen. I'm gonna go one even further. I'm gonna be a little bit more friendly. Retro viruses I don't want to use that because y'all gonna have a problem with the NIH. Y'all know what the 4 retroviruses are? There you go. But I'm gonna use it anyway. Shit. Live intuited retroviruses have been shown to be effective retroviral vaccines. Live intuited retroviruses have been shown to be effective retroviral vaccines, but currently little is known regarding the mechanisms of protection. This article is back from 1998, but I'm using it as an example that they've been using parts and pieces of other viruses to treat people. That's why mRNA technology is more advanced now, because you don't need to use a virus no more in a vaccine to help prevent us from being attacked by these viruses. You still can use them. You can go old school. But what he's arguing, and I'm trying to make it clear to the people, is, well, not he's arguing, but what is being said here by the Australian people, what Australia is doing is they're using old technology. They're using second generation technology to create a vaccine. Well, they're not using it anymore. But in 2020, Australia was using second generation vaccine science to fight against SARS-CoV-2 by using a protein from a fragment of a protein from a previous virus, quote unquote. They named the virus HIV, a protein from the HIV, a fragment of a protein from HIV as a defense mechanism against SARS-CoV-2. No one contracted HIV or AIDS. They didn't use the HIV and put it in a vaccine. They used a fragment of a protein from HIV. There's a difference. Make that clear. Just like we use fragments of proteins from other viruses to prevent other viruses. That's second generation vaccine science. mRNA technology says we don't need to use second generation vaccine science. We're going to take RNA and we're going to be able to construct it and manipulate it in a way that we could use this to do X, Y, and Z. So when the brother said that mRNA vaccines had HIV in it, he was wrong when he said that. And I truly believe that you said that out of ignorance, meaning you misspoke. Do you think?
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. My only premise in the beginning, because I noticed when we do go down these roads, it turns into some kind of support for the safety of the vaccine. As I said before we talked last time, I'm not here to argue the components, none of that. That's for you guys, right? I was here on trust. And the fact that HIV, well, all of a sudden, I guess this morning became a light topic, right? It's just HIV. You ask the common person on the street if they knew that they were using any form of HIV in a similar fashion like polio, right? Because that's what you're talking about, old school, right? You induce a portion of it to help the body fight it. Everybody knows that. That's common sense. My point was that wasn't common knowledge. Then we went on this long diatribe of you saying how much of this, then to come full circle for you to agree with me that they are using it. But then it's like, which ones are they using?
No.
See, no, you put words in my mouth for 5 minutes. I've been reading the comments. Y'all been having a high five show. I feel it, right? But all that you said validified my statement, which was what they were doing. That was just one example that is not obvious to the American public. Nobody wants that. Not maybe the 20 people in your chat say it's cool, right? But the average American, when they are told this information, freaks out, right? Because they want to know everything that's going on, right? But if you research, you will find out, yes, they've been developing this. Yes, they've been developing that. Then you want to talk about how history and all this doesn't convolute why I'm deciding to have a discerned eye and not just trust publications, not just trust novels. As an avid reader, you have to pick between the books you choose and not choose. But when the average public who's stupid, who hasn't conceptualized and digested thousands of periodicals to come to this concise conclusion that is still ever flowing like a river, disagrees with you, it's because of lack of. It's the same adjectives. I'm reading in the comments. You know, I used to be barbaric like that. I used to assume that somebody has a difference of opinion because of a cognitive deficiency. But when you sit down and listen to what they're saying, like you did, you went full circle. I'm glad you muted me so long, because people who are listening with me, who are not part of any fan club, are saying, don't the brother know he agreeing with you? Don't the brother know he's using wordplay, talking about everybody knows what a fragment is. It's a piece of it. My only point was, what is the usage? Then you went into what type of usage? Where is this? And I told you before I even begun, you're going to dismiss it and say that it's Australia. I already knew, because this isn't my first exchange with doctors like that, right? Where we were going with this before I unfortunately introduced the fact that they were using the HIV protein, we could take spike off so everybody in the comments can act like they are, you know, great scientists who all got on lab coats, right? What they're doing is that they're deciphering the information you give to them as facts. None of them are reviewing this information to the point where you are. And it sounds good, like most well put together arguments do, right? But that does not alleviate mistrust, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to trust you on 5 of these 6 items, right? On the 7th item, I'm going to give you blind trust because of the topic. Well, no, bro, that's science. That's untouchable, right? My argument wasn't none of that. We spent hours because of my mistake of mentioning a fact. You did not discredit the fact. You tried to discredit components of the fact, right? How much is getting you, right? What exact proteins? Never saying, no, they don't use HIV. You went on to say at first, then you went on to say, well, they do use it, but it's cool, right? I can disagree on that. I can disagree that AIDS was the #1 killer and scared the shit out of us for years. The least you can do is being transparent about the fact that this is what you're doing. That's a reason not to trust. And that's all I was doing. Now, I can do like I said, I'm not even interested in those arguments. Those arguments are old, because we can see in reality exactly what's going on with this COVID situation now, right? We can see with our own eyes what's coming out of different people's mouths, right? The science and all that, I don't disagree with none of it. I'm saying that it comes to a point where you have to sit back and say, this is why we don't trust. That was my only argument. And then I brought up a reason why, a valid reason. And you even state, yeah, they do need to tell us more about this stuff. You could have just opened up with that.
You're not listening to anything.
Oh, no, I'm not listening. I've been listening to you for 2 hours.
No, you have not.
I've been listening to you too much. I had to recharge my phone, bro.
I clearly told you that you were saying something and you were messing it up. And I was trying to give
What was I messing up? Are they using a protein or not?
I'm going to say it one more time. You didn't know shit. You were saying spike protein, and I said no.
Now, first it was what kind of RNA is used?
Chavis. All right, so let me just be clear. I don't know why he think I agree with him. I don't agree with him. So I'm about to do this again because everybody's confused now because of what he said. He kept making up frivolous arguments. Then trying to indicate trust. So back to my damn Facebook post. I put a post up. The post says, Rizza Islam said our bodies are now spike mutated virus factories. And I laughed. So this is going to finally start to make sense on why he brings up Australia. Now, remember, he just told us that we needed to know these things, right? He said that we needed to know that they're using a fragment of a protein from HIV in a vaccine. But he also said earlier on that it's not in America, it's in Australia. But he keeps saying that we need to know about some shit going on in Australia. Well, they published the article in 2020 letting you know what's going on in Australia. And you also conceded to the point that these vaccines, mRNA vaccines, well, you didn't concede this point because you claimed that mRNA vaccines had AIDS and HIV in it because you initially said that. So once again, I wanted to clean that up. All I've been trying to do is clean it up so that we can get on the same page, and then we can get back to the point about trust and distrust. So Rizza Islam says this about the spike mutated virus. Now you see why he interjected the whole Australia stuff, which was halted. He didn't say it was halted. He just implicated it. And that's why I said, no, brother, I want your source. I need to know what your source say. But anyway, Rizza says our bodies are now spike mutated virus factories. Then this brother comes out and he says, to me, I think this debate is about who trusts the government of the world. What does his comment have to do with my post? So I replied to him, you ain't supposed to trust anyone. You're supposed to trust the data, science, not pseudoscience, or use fallacies to prey on individuals, which is playing with their lives. Then he says, Sean, trust means we trust the reports that are submitted. So you trust the reports that were submitted by Australia when they said that they were using a protein from HIV in their vaccine. You trusted that because you initially thought that they were giving people vaccine, because now you turned around and said, well, brother, you know what I'm saying? We need to know these things because we need to know that they're injecting us with HIV. And then you went back to say HIV protein and yada, 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 what you just said. You didn't know because you didn't comprehend, because you kept making the same mental mistake. You kept saying over and over, and everybody heard you, and over and over and over and over. You kept saying it. Kept saying it. Now, you said that trust means we trust the reports that are submitted. This reality has us conditioned. What? To believe what is written is so. So this is why I pull these books up. Scientific reasoning. Right? Science. Where my other books at? I think I X'd out of them. Here go another one. Critical thinking. Right? Steps toward unified basis for scientific models and methods. What is scientific knowledge and introduction? This is why I was using these books. Right? What is science? Critical thinking. This is why I was using these books. Because I needed to let you know that. Let me zoom back in. I needed to let you know that there are tools that we can use so that we're not conditioned to believe what is written. And then you went on to say you know I have the equipment to run our own trials. If we have, all right, so let me pull up a scientific article real quick. I want to show y'all something. Let's say, I'm just putting this in just like that. So I want to go to this. I'm using COVID as an example. So this is the clinical trial. Y'all know the clinical trial. Now we can go to the actual trial, but this is the clinical trial link. Let me get the other link that'll take me to the study. Where's the DOI at? View this study here. Okay. All right. So here go the study. Okay. Now in this study, they're going to give you some specifics. Let me pull the DOI up. If you're unfamiliar with the DOI, I don't want to download no more of this stuff on my computer. But the DOI gives us the ability to be able to look at the study. All right. So this is a short synopsis of the study. We can recreate this study on our own merit. But we will come to a point where we will have some type of limitations. So what we could do, though, is we can go get a group of 20 people. We split it down the middle, 10 and 10. We can get 10 people that we're going to give a drink to that has some type of assistance in it that will aid in, let's say, treating a headache. As an example, we can take aspirin or Tylenol, right? We can do a Tylenol test. We can take 20 people, split that group in half. We can take one drink, spike it with Tylenol. We can take another drink and it'll just be another drink, but then we can put something in it to make it look like it's been spiked. That has no harmful effects on anything. It's gonna be the placebo. So we got 10 people that drunk the Tylenol drink and 10 people that drunk just a regular drink. Over a 10-hour period, right? We're going to monitor the behaviors of the people who took the Tylenol and the people who took the water. We're going to look for issues between the two. Do they still have pains? Where are those pains? Are they sleepy, drowsy? Are they all these other things, right? We're going to look for those things in people. We're going to look, and we're going to chart it, right? At the conclusion of our we're going to chart them, and we're going to chart them every hour. So every hour we're answering our research questions about the signs and symptoms. At the conclusion, right, we're going to get everybody's overall, check. We're going to summarize it and we're going to have it there. So we're going to know who was affected the most, where their symptoms persisted, and we'll be able to identify them. Then we're going to compare the data, the 10 in the placebo with the 10 in the aspirin drink. All right. We're going to see how well the damn aspirin worked in this group of 20 people. Or Tylenol, I should say. When we compare the data with the symptoms, hour upon hour, we can be more specific. 15 people in the group, well, we could say 8 out of the 10 people in the aspirin group had yada, yada, yada. We could say something like that, right? We could say that, right? We can go through and break all of it down. Then we can go to the placebo group. everybody in the placebo group had the same complaints. And overall, their symptoms began to recede, whereas everybody in the Tylenol group had some of the similar symptoms at the start in the first hour or two, and their symptom in the first hour, and their symptoms receded within a certain hour. So let's say their symptoms receded in the first 2 hours. The placebo groups lasted 4 to 6 hours. So now that we know by taking a Tylenol that your chances of your symptoms receding is far quicker than just fighting through the headache or whatever the situations or the symptoms was. We can mock trials. We can mock trials. Basically, all I'm telling you is we just need the model which was used and understand the methodology. So when we look at the results, we should be able to replicate the results. If we can't replicate the results, then other scientists who do have the ability to replicate the results, we should see those studies. So here goes my point. Moderna and Pfizer both ran trials. They ran phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 trials. Before phase 1, they ran animal trials. We were able to look at the animal trial data and the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 for both. They gave us the symptoms. They gave us the reoccurring things. They gave us pre-existing things. They gave us everything. We had that data. The data was scrutinized because guess what? There were still smaller trials going on to replicate the data. Chavis, I don't know where you went, bro. Now it's about trust. Do you trust the data? If you get the same results over and over and over again, or if you have multiple sources for similar results, do you trust that? Or if you have people falsifying those results and they were able to falsify the results, do you still trust that data? I gave an example earlier, ivermectin. You had a group of people that were biased as hell in their research talking about ivermectin worked. They used it in a hospital setting on some people to see if it worked. They got the same results every time. It was not working. So they did a whole study, a control study, where they had people to take ivermectin and people that did not take ivermectin. They used a double-blind test to determine if this stuff worked. And they determined that it did not work. That's demonstrating accountability, which will reinsert trust into the equation. So he got to understand how methods and models work. If I pulled up the Lancet, watch this. Watch this. The Lancet. Come on, man. I don't want to. New England Journal of Medicine. Let me be more clear. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. And I want to make sure that this is clear to everybody so that you can understand what I'm saying. This is dealing with the safety and efficacy of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. Okay. So in scientific articles, they give you a background. They give you the methods. This is the key. They give you the methods. When they give you the methods, they're telling you what they're doing, right? In an ongoing multinational placebo-controlled observer-blinded pivotal efficacy trial, we randomly assigned persons 16 years of age or older in a 1-to-1 ratio to receive 2 doses of 21 days apart of either a placebo or a vaccine. Now, they provide you with the method, and they tell you how much of the vaccine that they use, whether it's the vaccine or the placebo. Then they go in and give you, well, this is summary. This is a quick summary, this first part, because it's the abstract. Then they give you the results. Then they give you the conclusion. Now you're able to replicate it because you know what they used in order to get the results. Then the rest of this is to be specific instead of abstract. So they get specific in their methodology. Scientists, listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. I can't be more clear. Chavis, if you coming back, bro, get on. I'm good now. Put me in. I tried to put you in. You ain't here. You can't tell me put you in somewhere that you ain't. You're not here, Chavis. You ain't here. You were circling. So I don't know where you at. But anyway, you messing up my point. Bring your ass back. But anyway, what I'm telling you is, if you understand their methods, you can replicate it. And if you find fault, then you challenge fault. Right? They give you the methods and then they report the results. Everything that I just basically told you, this is why research methods and models is important. But this is also important that you have a little understanding of statistical data so that you're not confused when you start having to do percentages and dividing and all of this shit. Because they tell you the participants, they give you all of that. They give you everybody's, they give you, boy. They show us this stuff. Do we have to be in a lab to understand this stuff? No, we don't need to be in a lab. We just need to know that what a controlled double-blind setting is, what it looks like, and how it goes down. We can read this from the data, but guess what? They also have interviews from the people that participated in the trials. They wrote journals. They reported their signs and symptoms. This is how we got this, y'all. This is how we got the symptoms. Y'all remember this? Nobody knew what kind of symptoms that we got from stuff. The people from the trial were reporting their symptoms, and these were the symptoms. They gave you a range of the symptoms when you first contract it, when you first contract COVID, right? From contracting COVID. Now, what about the vaccine? Vaccine safety side effects. Remember that? Same thing. Possible side effects. We got the symptoms from what causes, COVID. You get these symptoms and how long they last or whatever the case. Then we get the side effects. We even got the damn side effects for after booster shots. So they're telling you all the information up front so that there's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide. Look, in children, months to 17 years old, these are the symptoms. 18 and older, these are the symptoms. We have them right here. Why are we playing games like none of this information is available to us? And the only reason that we know these symptoms is because of trial data. So we're sitting here and arguing from ignorance as if we don't have the information that we need to make an informed decision. We're saying, let's not trust them. We don't know if this are the symptoms. So you know what they did? When you got the vaccine, what did they do? They created safety monitoring. They created what? A vaccine safety reporting system called vSafe. They asked y'all to download this on your smartphones, enroll after you get the vaccination, and report your symptoms. These people reach out to you via the app every day, asking you about your symptoms. You can report them here. And if they're severe, whatever, they're going to tell you to go see your doctor. You talk about trust. This is what they did throughout this entire process is they made it transparent and visible enough for you to obtain the information that you needed to make an informed decision based on the results of the pre-trial of all because of this. Not preclinical trial data and the phase 3 trial data. I'm showing this right here because this is phase 3. They showed you pre-trial data all the way to phase 3 trial data. And once you pass phase 3, you can go into production. So getting to phase 3 is a big deal. Remember, there was hundreds of vaccines that never made it out of phase 1. Look how many. All right, so let me be a little bit more clear, transparent. Somebody's gonna say the government controls the narrative. Let's not say we could say test it. Look at this. 17,000 vaccines. Nope, that's the wrong one. 2020 COVID vaccine. They got the authorizations, which we don't want those. I want the name of all the vaccines that was used. I had this somewhere. The tracking landscape provides submission and data. Damn, I gotta go back in my notes, and that's gonna take me forever to go back in the notes. But there was a list of all the names of vaccines, and it was a lot of them. It was a whole bunch of them, and I got it. I don't want to do it live, where I can go back and get all the vaccines that went into play in 2020. Available vaccines. See if I got this here. There you go. We know about all them. Indications in vaccine selection we recommend for individuals 6 years and older. It's a lot of them jokers, man. I just can't. I ain't. My brain farting right now. And a lot of them didn't come to pass. The U.S. had like 7 or 8 vaccines, but some of them fell off. Let's see. We know it's 4 in the U.S. We know that. You got mRNA, vector vaccines, protein subunit, and generation phase. Well, yeah, old school type 2, type 3. I mean, phase. Why I keep saying phase, but instead of saying second generation, third generation vaccines, right? Out of the second generation and third generation vaccines, there was a lot of people that were in the works for vaccines. A lot of them didn't make it. Right now, we're down to 4 different types. And we're only using a certain amount. So not every different type of vaccine made it. And I do have that information. I just have to go back and dig, and I don't feel like digging it right now. Oh, shoot, my bad. I didn't mean to stop sharing. But Chavis, you still ain't came back. So back to my post. Then he says, you weren't there to inspect the process, so where that? Yeah, you weren't there to inspect the process, so it's trust. You believe everything they tell you. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? No, I don't. I don't believe everything they tell me. We cannot duplicate their methods. Who the hell is there? The methods can be replicated and duplicated by scientists. Not just scientists in America, scientists in Canada, Cuba, South America, Australia, China, Japan, Korea, North and South, India, all them different European countries, scientists in Africa. So I don't want to hear, you know what I'm saying, all this about what you can and cannot do. Now let's move forward. If you can't analyze, then I go on and say, he says, your analysis is of their data. Who the fuck is there? Who did not chart it? You must trust and see. So a little bit about Pfizer and Moderna's trial. Do y'all know how many different countries was utilized in the trial data? So you can't say there, because if you didn't look and see what I said earlier, and this is what goes back to my point of how unknowing, I can't say ignorant, I have to say how unknowing people are of clinical data. The findings from studies conducted in the United States and Germany among healthy men and women. Do you think it was just the United States and Germany among healthy men and women? When they did these clinical trials, there were people from Australia, Europe, South America, and America that were involved in trial data. And then there was some in South Africa, right? We read these long ago. I ain't got to go back and look at. So you had people from across the globe that would be intertwined in these different phase trials as they would commence. Between July 27, 2020 and November 14, 2020, a number of 44,820 people were screened. Listen, people 16 years of age and older underwent randomizations at 152 sites worldwide. There were the United States, Argentina, Brazil, South Africa, Germany, Turkey involved in the trials. %49 of the people were female. 83% were white. 9 were black. 28% Hispanic or Latino. 35%. I mean, my bad. Among these 37,000 participants, they got it broke down. Because remember, they had a whole bunch of people, 44,000. They just go back and break them down. But you had people from all of those countries. So this was a world thing. This wasn't a their thing. When you say there, be specific. So we don't trust the United States. What about Argentina? What about Brazil? What about South Africa, Germany, and Turkey? We don't want to trust any of them? What reason do they have to lie to us? Especially Germany. What reason? Anyway, or Argentina. If you can explain to me why, you know what I'm saying, then you could go ahead and explain it. But we also can verify. And that's the problem. He goes on to say, your analysis is of their data. Who is their data? See what I'm saying? Now you got to go back because Moderna's, watch Moderna. But let's bring, we already got theirs. Let's bring up Moderna's. Shoot, while we at it. I mean, we back to 2020, y'all. This, what I'm going on right now is back to 2020 because I ain't got to make nothing up. I don't have to make nothing up. Back to methods. Now, remember, Moderna specific. They ain't like Pfizer. Moderna specific. Moderna doing everything US based. They wasn't going all over. They come behind Pfizer. Pfizer was out before everybody else. You know what I mean? As far as the trials. So you ain't gonna see all the things you expected to see. However, I am going to show you something. The majority of participants were white. You had black people, Hispanic, and Latino. That's what you have. This thing here was more US of A. You ain't got all them people from all them other places like you do with Pfizer. But it is what it is. That's their thing. So that's their trial data. So then he goes on to say, you are not conducting the trials. There was a lot of people not conducting the trials. Then he says, you have to be present to validate and to record. Did I need to be present to validate or to record this information? No, it was provided to me. It was provided to you. It was provided to everybody around the world. When the pandemic first kicked off, Nothing was provided to anybody. Nature just ran its course. But because of technology and sequencing the genome of the virus, technology allowed the rest of the world to begin to immediately start working on a prevention because they had sequenced the virus. Hence, we get the D614G. Moving forward. Are you running the clinical trials or not? There's very cut and dry. The issue is that you must trust that they find and are honest and accurate. Again, if we go back to something that is key here, there's a word here, methods. What was the methods? This phase randomized, stratified, observer-blinded, placebo-controlled trial enrolled adults in medically stable condition at 99 U.S. sites. You get the method, then you get the participants and the randomization and data blinding. You understand how to put together the test. He's just repeating himself on this post at this point, but he does not understand anything. He says that I don't understand the process. He's telling me that I don't understand the process. Instead of conceding this simple fact, that I don't understand this information, therefore I need to concede the fact. Well, how could I take you to and talk about how many people were involved in the trials and what they did during the trials if I didn't understand it? I understand vaccine trials and vaccine data. What are we all doing here? Then he shows me the historical roots of mistrust in science. Everybody knows they use the photo of Tuskegee, but people don't know the whole thing about Tuskegee. We know about, let me just say it like this. We know how this country, America, United States of America, we know how the United States of America created this mistrust, right? Through practice, during the experiments, practices, stuff like that. But good science exposed that. Good science exposed that, right? If whistleblowers don't expose Tuskegee, the science would expose it because they were recording things. Those people are supposed to give them people, right? The treatment. No one avoided the treatment. Moving forward. Then he goes on to talk about a legal body used the experiment as an example in the article, yada, yada, yada. Then he goes on to say regarding trust, sure, I enjoy that. How do you differentiate the two bodies you think they operate independently? Well, science operates independently from the government because science is a tool. The government are people. Science is a tool. Science exposes bias. Science is a tool. It requires you to know and to do. The government can't control science. They cannot, they can't listen to me. They cannot do it because if they try to do it, guess what happened? It's exposed. He's saying, do you think it's far-fetched to think that they would control the narratives of science as they do in all genres? First of all, they don't control all genres. We're in the information age. So we have information that's privy to us right now that allows us the opportunity to expose what they're trying to hide, bruh. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand and to see. I'm trying to get you to understand and see that science allows us, and no, not just science, not just the tools of science, but proper research methodology allows us an opportunity to expose the flaws. I do whole shows on debunking misinformation using science. People that also claim that they're utilizing science, I do the same to debunk it. Moving a little bit more. He says, you're evading my question, and I told him no. I'm standing on science. Standing on it. Because if it's wrong, science is self-correcting. Which means people need to be more scientific in their endeavor. So when they're wrong, they can self-correct. It's not a problem. I self-correct all the time. When information that I've read and understood it as such, and then I get new information or new data that comes in and interrupts that process, I concede the point and I correct myself. Duh. So you don't trust the government, but you trust science. Because science is a tool. The government are assholes. But he just does a lot of rambling, bro. I don't even want to deal with no more of it. But I brought him on to deal with this post and his rambling because he's rambling. And then he tries to bunch everybody up and call people scholars, sign at a crowd, and he's had these conversations. Bro, first of all, fuck Sonetta. I don't go on his platform. He don't support nothing that we do. I don't operate in that demeanor. I try to have a conversation, meaning that if I let you just talk for 10 minutes, I'm gonna forget your point. So if you come to a good point that I feel like we need to address it, let's address that. Then you can move on and keep on talking. I ain't trying to keep interrupting you. I'm trying to deal with your point, come back, deal with your next point or argument. Let's try to get through it so we can hash it out. But you're tripping here. Everybody heard you come on the show, calling me on Messenger. Everybody heard you come on the show and say that mRNA vaccines had HIV in it. And then you went on to be a little bit more clear and say Australia was using HIV in their vaccines, in their mRNA vaccines. You kept trying to equate mRNA vaccines to HIV, and you were wrong. So I tried to clear up everywhere that you were wrong so that the dialogue would be just. And you didn't want to deal with it like that. I don't operate the way everybody else operate. We're going to put it on the screen. We're going to source up and we're going to read it together and we're going to comprehend it. And some of this stuff that you weren't even reading because you kept getting stuck at your own source. You kept saying spike protein. No, they were using a fragment of an HIV protein component in their vaccines to stabilize the antibody target, which was the spike protein of the coronavirus. And then you said, well, they just removed spike. No, that wasn't your initial argument. You kept saying spike protein. No, you didn't even know that there were 15 different proteins in the damn virus in HIV. You didn't know that. That's why I said you got to be specific. Because you don't know. And hopefully I made that clear for everybody to properly understand that these different sites on a virus are proteins. You can manipulate proteins that help you protect people against viruses that are trying to affect us. That's why you have retrovirus. Hold up. Let me put it back on the screen. So I'm finna pull up the vaccine types. And what up, Ali? I done bored the hell out of a couple people. Y'all done left. But here we go. Based on a number of factors, scientists decide the type of vaccines they will make. There are several types of vaccines, including inactivated vaccines, live intuitive vaccines, messenger RNA vaccines, subunit recombinant polysaccharide, and conjugate vaccines, toxic vaccines, viral vector vaccines. And then this goes into specifics in breaking those down. So now you know that there, again, for those of you who may not have known, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different types of vaccines. And in each one of those, they break down how they arrive at creating. Some people are using viral vector vaccines. You see that? For COVID and HIV. But that's a problem with comprehension, which was at the earliest onset of this conversation. So I don't know if anybody got any questions, comments, or concerns, or if your comprehension is there. Hold on. I'm trying to sell a dog and talk to y'all at the same time. But, man, how I want to do this. I'm looking to see if there's questions in the chat. So I don't know who got a question. Whoever still tapped in, man, I don't know if you got. I know Chavis was going crazy. He's saying they still using the protein though. Honey, where you at? Sean, he don't understand you going too far. Okay. I don't know if you still here, but I'm just now reading back what you were saying. It's a piece of a protein, but what does that mean to him? He don't know the difference, Sean. Spike protein or protein, you have to tell the difference. I thought I did. I'm dealing with this. This lady got to be foreign. Hold on, y'all. 1 second. Trying to get. I thought I did all of that though. Boy, y'all know how many messages I get. Now, the reason that I'm saying what I'm saying is because I'm trying to get somebody on, man. All right, I had somebody. I knew people was gonna hit me up. Yeah, I get it sent. Craig, what up? Well, I got a ton of messages. Okay, so I was trying to see if I could get somebody on real quick because I was sitting here trying to read back on the chat and I saw that it was saying certain things and trying to make it make sense. Raheem, I see your message. The interview with Captain Tesoro at Clubhouse. So when the panel was showing, Chaves, I got better to do. I gotta finish moving. Oh, okay. I really appreciate it, for real. I'm a half of this. Nah. All right, so spike protein or protein, you have to tell the difference. I thought I told the difference when I showed it on the screen. So let me show y'all. When I said that there was 15 different spike proteins, so HIV spike protein. Let me share the screen. I ain't doing no 3K. I ain't doing that. Crazy as hell. All right, so I want to show y'all something, but I got to make sure that I say it right. Let me see if I can pull the image up. If we can get a good picture of the HIV virus. Here we go. Y'all can see this, right? They're trying to charge for this image. Crazy. I want to find a really good picture of it. And this is why our article is saying it looks similar. So let me see. 3D image of HIV spike. Dang, I can't even get into this. Can I get into this article? Nope. All I wanted was the picture though. So they won't let me in, but I just wanted to get the picture. So let me see if I can find a replicable picture of HIV, electrons microscope, HIV, subunit structure, HIV. I have a lot of bills to settle. 3.5, please. Hold on, y'all. All right, so I can't get the image from there, but y'all see what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to find a really good accessible image to show y'all the spike. But maybe it may be easier if I did it like this. Here we go. Maybe this helps. Maybe this helps. All right, so we all know that this is the HIV, this is HIV Baltimore Group 4. This is a picture from the image. So here's all the 15 protein sites. I don't know how they look on y'all screen, but this is this is all 15 sites. You can see the RNA. Remember, DNA is double-stranded, RNA is single-stranded, but sometimes with particular viruses, you'll get a RNA virus that'll be like double-stranded in some instances, or you'll see two of them in a sense. But look, glycoprotein at the GP120 site. See that? Glycoprotein at the GP41 site, which is up under this site. So these are the two areas that description was referring to in the study. Remember, the protein that was being used is the glycoprotein GP41, which is under the other site. Which would be the glycoprotein GP120. So now, right, you see that. So here we go. All right. So the S1 protein, the spike protein, is right here on SARS-CoV-2. The GP120 is right here. The protein that they're using to block is GP41, which is here. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. So this should end the conversation right here. I was trying to tell you to make it simple. So again, what he's calling a spike protein is this. Do you see what I'm saying? They're not using the spike protein. Whether you call it the GP120 or whether you call it the S1 protein, they're not using the spike. The article reads that Australia was using a small fragment of the GP41. So they're not using the virus. They're not using none of this stuff. They're using an outer layer of the virus, a fragment of this protein right here, to prevent this spike from entering your cell. It just is what it is right there, man. I can't be more clear than that. I pulled up the two viruses, put them side by side, showed you how the spikes, what he's calling a spike protein, it ain't a spike protein. Why I was being specific, because they're using a piece, what we know as what we call the S2 protein, the receptor binding domain. The receptor binding domain would be what the S2 protein is. So these would be the GP41, and the S2 protein would be hold on, let me get specific with y'all. These two, the S2 protein on the SARS virus and the GP41 on the HIV virus, are what we would call the receptor binding domain, the RBD. The spikes attach to the cell, and then everything else allows it to enter. And he listening. He listening. He in here. He just ain't saying nothing. So, Honey Clark, I hope that answers your question. I mean, I knew you understood, but you saying that he doesn't understand. So hopefully that gives people clarity on what this article was actually saying to him that he didn't seem to understand. But you see how I didn't let science, I mean, I didn't let people tell me, I didn't let the government tell me where these sites are, right? I didn't let the government tell me none of that stuff. I went to the scientists, extracted their data, found out where the protein that they were talking about and located it. And, you know, I thought I was showing y'all, but apparently maybe the visualization of it, for those of you who are visual learners, could now understand that it was not talking about the spike site. Hold on. Yeah. See what I'm saying? So I'm gonna drop the link again, man, because I always like other people's perspective, especially when it's people that can't really get to something, and then I'm a wrap. Chavez was getting fed up. He was trying to move, but he wanted to argue with dude. And he's still messaging me, y'all, on Facebook. I don't get that, man, bro. Like, bro. What did he say? Care to discuss where you don't have control of the environment. He sent me a message and says, care to discuss where you don't have control of the environment. Hold on, y'all. No. I ain't said that you argued against it. I'm asking you to hop on. because of what you said in the chat. So I was trying to get you to hop on so you could be a little more clear. He said he don't discuss for fans, he discuss for truth. Brother, I'm not finna go back and forth with you in private. I ain't got that kind of time, bro. That's why I went live. I'm giving you, this is the last time that I'm addressing anything with you on the subject matter. If you can't comprehend or understand that, like, I don't want to deal with it. You made me go chase down a 2020 source to argue with you over something that ain't even true. You said initially that they were using HIV and mRNA vaccines. That was wrong. You misspoke. Then you continue to say that they were using the spike protein from HIV. That was wrong. You misspoke. Then you kept on saying all these other things, and I was providing clarity so that there would not be an error. You kept misspeaking. Your distrust for something comes from your ignorance in something else. That's not a me problem. You're trying to challenge my position on where I stand with science, not even knowing why I stand where I stand with science, because I fully comprehend that there are methodologies that require steps to answer research questions for us to be better in an area. A mobile check. No, I can't do that. So I'm trying to be as clear as I can with everybody here. I was trying to see if hold on, y'all. Hold on. Hold on. Man, where you at, bro? Hit the link, man. I just gotta ask you a question. Honey Clark, where you at? Hit the link. Honey Clark, where you at? Hit the link. Oh, there's a delay. I just need you to hit the link. I need to ask you a question for clarity. That's it. That's all clear. I know you ain't in this argument. Send me a digital. Nah, bro, you ain't scamming me. Honey Claw, hit the link. I got a question. Anybody got a question or comment for me in regard to anything that was said? Could you please hit the link? What up, Zane? Zane said peace to everybody in both chats. Most people ain't talking, Zane. They just listening right now, bro. And I think the dude got mad because everybody else understood and he didn't understand. And I'm closing out of all these tabs, so. I mean, I can't be no more clear than what I just did, bro. Like, they're not using no spike protein, bro. They were not using, because it's past tense, because they never brought it to fruition. So nobody don't want no smoke. Well, shoot, man, y'all ain't got nothing to say, man. Y'all busy with y'all day, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get on with mine.
I don't listen to people that I can't learn from. So I don't listen to interviews of artists that don't have no value in what they say. I don't listen to music from people that I can't get no game from.
Are you the smartest one in your team?
Definitely not. I might be the dumbest one.
So we have a lot to do. We must do our business, what we have to do the job. And we are not against anybody. It's not to be against. It's to know more about yourself and more about humanity and try to bring contribution to the world. It's like that. So is this complex of inferiority is over. Like to say, I'm doing well, I'm okay, healing me. Heal what? You are not sick. Well, heal for what? You have to do the job. You must do the job. We do well in some in art, in music, in athletics. We do well. We must do the same in business. We do well. We must in politics. We do well. So we must do well in a pure intellect business. We must do well too. Why not? We must learn Medu nature. We must know African language, African philosophy, African spirituality, African culture, African values. Know that very well. Bring that on table. Be proud of that. Because if it's lost, humanity will lose something. So it's good for us to bring this kind of. If they don't study Buddhism, we lose Buddhism. They must study Buddhism. If they don't study Christianity, the Bible, we lose that too. So it's good to study. Everything is a part of humanity, is a legacy. So we study because it's part of humanity. It's not to say we are proud, we did, Kemet, they did. Now we have to build a new pyramid. That's all. New schools, new homes, new families, new community, not people in jail, nothing like that. Be there and do well and be positive. This is what we have to do now.
I offended anybody, please forgive me, I'm so not sorry. You won't smoke, just keep it between me and you to get that pronto. You heard me? They said smoke in the album, now they carry her. We honor those who honor the truth. And you switch like a pussy lip bitch.
Clark, rejoin, man. Rejoin. Hold on, y'all. Hunter Clark just hit the link, bro. Rejoin. I ain't done yet. All right, it's finna get interesting real quick. By the way, Emmanuel, she called you slow, bro. Look, Keisha said she fell asleep too. It's the dude, man. Now I'm gonna go on and end it, bro. I ain't gonna wait to come back on. Look, y'all enjoy y'all day. I might come back and follow up, man. I might not. I might just be. Oh, there she go. Hold up. Boom. All right. So real quick, I don't know how much time you get. I ain't trying to ruin your nap or nothing like that. I'm pretty sure we bored the hell out of a lot of people. But what I'm trying to understand though, in your opinion, I'm gonna say this: where was the confusion at for you, or if there was confusion, or what you feel like could have been explained a little bit better?
From the man, I think that he just didn't understand. Like, you was going too fast. Like, expecting him to understand what he was saying. He heard HIV and protein. So he immediately just was like, "Oh, it's HIV,"
But that's his source.
and that's it.
But that's his source.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that he didn't understand anything that he was actually saying, but you were saying it as if he did. So when you're like, "Well, no, it's not the spike protein; it's just this protein," and he's like, "It doesn't matter; it's the same thing." So if he heard HIV, that's just like if you said something coming from the cold virus or something, right? If you said that, he immediately is just thinking, okay, so they're giving them a cold. So he heard HIV and a fragment of something HIV, it's HIV. So if he don't understand what it is, then you can't go keep walking down the street on it because he's still stuck on the first beginning part.
Yeah, but he also then turned around and said that he needed to know what it is if they're putting HIV in a vaccine. And I'm like, but you just told us that the vaccine is coming from Australia, per your source, right? Per his source that he used, that's the case. Therefore, he needed to understand that there was 15 different proteins in this virus.
Right.
So when I pulled that
Which
information,
you showed, yeah, you showed that. But I mean, the thing
you broke up.
he felt like he had won a point there is because he didn't understand necessarily what it still was. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. It's still a piece of it. So, like, that's what the fuck I'm saying. It is. It's in there. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, you know, yeah, you weren't slow enough. You didn't.
I wasn't slow enough.
He didn't break it down anymore.
Right. So he didn't recognize when I went to the thing and found the site area of the protein that was actually being used.
Yeah.
That was clarity because it also referred to the GP120, which would be known as the spike protein if you're talking about the S1 protein. Because that's what he's doing. He was comparing the S1 protein with the GP120 because of the site areas on the SARS virus, the COVID virus, and HIV, right? So I equated the similarities and said the S1 is the GP120. That's not being used. What's being used is the S2, or what we know as the receptor binding domain, and the GP417, which is the site of what we know as the receptor binding domain on the COVID virus. I don't know how to, I don't know no other way to slow that down I don't know no other way to slow that down and says, bro, the protein is from a different location on the from the HIV virus. I said that, and then I turned around to say, okay, let's use your train of thought. If they're using a piece of a protein from the spike protein to prevent the SARS spike from entering the cell, what's the problem? They already told you that it don't. Well, we need to know this. This is a problem with trust.
Well, then, yeah, because that's kind of like understanding the functions of the protein, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily understanding that, okay, we know that it's part of this, we know it's part of that, but you have to understand how it works, the whole inner working of it. That's why I was like, you're not slow enough because, using these words, understanding exactly what it is used for. What does it do here? And then how does that help over here? Right? Because that's how scientists think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, scientists just break
But he
things
said he
down. It's
came
like,
back like that.
okay, this is how this worked here. If we could get this technology over here, then we can stop this from doing this, right? So it's like that. So it's kind of like he just had to understand it. That's why I said it wasn't slow enough, because you're expecting for him to grasp the concept from just reading. Well, this is what this does. This is why it's helpful over here. But he don't understand it.
Mm. So that's why you keep saying I wasn't slow enough. Because here it is. I think that I'm explaining it to where he could get it, and he wasn't gonna get it.
You know, I always say to break it down like it's like when I tell you to break it down like I'm a child. It's the same thing.
She said he didn't care. HIV
because
was
it was the where you're like, this is what it does over here. Yeah,
but that's the name of the virus. So what if the virus
you have to understand what it does?
What if the virus had a different initials than HIV?
Still the same thing.
Yeah, but he wouldn't know what virus it was either, though.
He would still think the same thing. He would think that you were putting that. No, he would just still think you were putting that virus in there, not the technology from the virus. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? Because they weren't necessarily putting the virus in there; they're putting technology that happens in the virus in there. It is technology though, because it's a function. The protein had a function, and they need a function over here. So that function that it has is something that it does. So you're moving that technology, just what that does, and you're trying to take that over here to make it do it over here.
Okay. Well, shoot, I ain't gonna hold you up, man. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I know it's y'all take naps around here. Y'all old. You know what I'm saying?
You're up here and yell at him.
Well, enjoy your day. Appreciate it. Everybody that got good comprehension, I appreciate y'all hanging in there. Peace out. You don't know when the next time one of these occur, but I'm gonna do my thing. Peace to everybody.
Later, Sean. Good job.
Peace. Appreciate it.